Приветствую, дорогой зритель, тебя снова в студии Classroom бизнес-школы Сколково. Меня зовут Иван Khvorov, я руководитель интеграционных проектов бизнес-школы Сколково, и со мной...
Добрый день, Оксана Костениук, выпускница Московской школы управления Сколково, руководитель шахматного клуба.
Выпускница MBA Московской школы управления Сколково, с гордостью говорим мы. Итак, сегодня 10 июля. Второй день продолжения первого кубка в истории Кубка по шахматам среди ведущих бизнес-школ мира под эгидой FIDE. FIDE Binance Business School Super Cup.
Суперкубок для студентов, выпускников и сотрудников бизнес-школ.
Напоминаю, что сегодня второй день. Сегодня 32 команды из 12 стран продолжают групповой турнир. И каждой из команд сегодня предстоит сыграть еще по 3 партии. После чего сильнейшие выйдут в плей-офф. Чемпиона FIDE Binance Business Schools Super Cup мы узнаем уже завтра. Завтра финальный день. Но и сегодня будет много интересного.
Сегодня самый интересный день, потому что он самый будет напряженный. Все команды хотят выйти. И, конечно же, want to make it to the finals.
Вопрос с везением всегда такой, я к этому отношусь. Везет, мне кажется, всем одинаково. Вопрос в момент, когда везение через тебя летит, расставил ли ты пальцы. И помним вчера кто нам говорил про историю. Играйте, получайте удовольствие, делайте это с холодной головой.
You have to play, you have to get fun from it, and you also have to do it with a cold head. Yes, Mr. Kramnik. And I think yesterday we had a very interesting broadcast from the studio. We had amazing guests. We also had Arkady Dvorkovich joining us, the president of FIDE. We had Vladimir Kramnik, the 14th world champion, and a famous grandmaster, Joseph Dorfman. And everybody was asked the question, what is chess for you? And we got plenty of interesting and diverse answers. Today we will continue asking that question in my micro research.
Расскажи нам, что сегодня будет происходить.
Yeah, I still have plenty of room for additional information. What are we up for today? We're expecting 3 tours. We have 7 rounds. All in all, yesterday we had 4 rounds, and today we will have 3 rounds. It's a round-robin competition, single round-robin. And I suggest we now call out the leaders in each group. In Group A, we have the team of Mulungusha, Zambia, and a finance university, the government of Russia. In Group B, we have the Moscow FISTEC and MGIMO, 2 teams from Russia. Group C, Toronto, Canada, and our team, Moscow School of Management, Skolkovo. And in Group D, we have Perm National Research University in the lead, as well as Ranepa.
Отрадно мне, честно говоря, слышать, что много команд из России.
It's so nice to hear that so many teams from Russia are in the lead. Yes, not just from Russia, Canada as well.
Да, еще Замбия, да?
Who else? Zambia, yes. We have representatives of 3 countries for now in the lead. But actually, the 3rd and the 4th places are not too far behind our yellow shirts. That's why the nerves are trembling. 5 minutes remain before the start of the 5th match, the 5th round, and everybody's now getting connected to their play Zooms. The referees need to check connections, and now we have someone special joining us, Lautier. We will first introduce him to you, we'll tell you about him, because many people think, and many viewers ask us, Joel Lautier, is he a legionary? Is he like external grandmaster joining the team? Because according to the rules, you can include in your squad 4 participants who are either representatives of the alumni community, the employee community, or the student community of a school, but you can also invite 1 legionnaire. You can even have a super grandmaster in your squad, but we're very lucky to have Joel Lautier captaining the first team of Moscow School of Management Skolkovo. Joel is a well-known grandmaster. He is a many times champion of France. He is the winner of more than 30 international competitions, and together with Vasily Ivanchuk, Joel is the only grandmaster who won all world champions of his time, starting from Anatoly Karpov and ending with Steil-Antoni. And he is one of the few players who has a positive score in games with Garry Kasparov. Vladimir Kramnik, who visited us yesterday, also has a positive score playing against Garry Kasparov. Moreover, Joel knows French, Russian, and Japanese languages. And all of that explains one thing. He is a graduate of MBA programs at SKOLKOVO Business School. Finally, I'm watching our legend, Joel. We talked about you so much yesterday. Joel, hello, hello. Good afternoon. Can you please, we can't hear you because you have a different language. Can you please select the Russian language? It has to be somewhere close to the mic. You need to press an arrow. Am I saying it right? No. You have to find a globe button, yes. It's to the right from the central Zoom panel. And please select Russian. Now we hear you. Can we make him a little louder so that we can hear Joel as well? Hello, hello. Good evening again. Can you hear me well? Yes, we hear you very well. We'll ask the guys to make it a little louder, but we can hear you generally. How are the things? The things are very well. I still think we have all chances to make it up to the finals, so everything's going to the plan. Where are you? Are you in Skolkovo Business School or somewhere else? He's in Barcelona. Yes, I'm a little bit further than that, further than Skolkovo. I'm outside Moscow, near Barcelona in my office. It's a Saturday day, afternoon, there's no one here, an ideal condition for chess. Joel, you are one of the few successful chess players who managed to make a conversion and to have a similarly successful career in business. Can you tell us about that transition of yours, moving from chess to business? The transition was a gradual one. Somewhere in the beginning of 2000, I decided that chess is not the end to my career, and I need to move forward and do something else. I've always been curious about business, and since Russia, by that time, had already been a very close country to me, I could even call it my home, so I decided naturally that if I need to start a business, I should start it in Russia. So in 2006, I moved to Moscow by invitation of a large Russian company that does strategic consulting, and it was a beginning of my new career. Then, thanks to Skolkovo studies, I fully transitioned from being a chess player to a business person. And for 12 years in a row, I am running my own financial company. Financial company, you say? How does chess help you in doing business? Or is it a hindrance, rather? Is there something that you take from chess? I know I'm using primitive language, but what I would like to grasp is, are you taking something from chess to business? Do you think there are certain features that are transferable? Actually, it's an interesting thing. I've been always asked, have chess helped my business career? In my case, they have, yes. Not just because you know how to attack, or it doesn't necessarily mean that if you know how to do your Sicilian right, you're going to be a successful business person. It's more complex than that. There are some parallels, but they're not direct. What chess helped me to realize was that I'm a wholesome person, and it helped me to develop a very competitive edge, a very competitive nature. And that's how I apply them to business. I can't really say there's a specific formula, because chess made me as a person. I would have been a different person if I did not play chess for so long. I would have been a different person completely, if not for chess. So chess is a big part of my life, and I believe that they helped me a lot in my business. Because if you're a professional chess player, from very early on, you're used to being or feeling stress for a lengthy time period. That's the most important thing. You're used to the fact that all decisions rest on you. You can't push it away, you can't shoulder it off. You always have to be focused, you always have to be present, you always have to show your very best in the course of 5 to 6 hours. And the preparatory work that preempts a match is also necessary. You see, you might do creative work for... Yeah, if you're doing something creative, it takes just 1 hour for you to come up with something great, and you will be famous for the rest of your life. When you're playing chess, you can't just stay and you can't just be idle. It's important to show your best every game. Every next game is a new test, is a new challenge. And that keeps you very fit and concentrated. On one hand. On the other hand, you have to be creative, because if you can't come up with something unexpected for your opponent, you will never be able to win. And I believe that chess is an ideal model of the world. What I heard you saying is that chess develops and grows your brain, but it also helps your personality to take flight. And I think creativity in sports is something that business has in common with chess, because you've been describing that there are two components to chess, creativity and sport, right? And I think it easily translates to business. May I share my own experience, and may I tell you my own story? In my business career, I've seen a little bit less of creativity as opposed to chess. Because in business, you not always have an opportunity to come up with something beautiful, nice, and creative. In every chess match, in every chess game, if you played it right, you come up with a cherry on the cake, with something unique, proprietary. In business, sometimes efficiency is more of importance and speed rather than creativity. But what I found, and what was missing in business, what was available in chess, is this human-to-human relationship. Not everything boils down to a game, not everything boils down to the results. It's not just a win-lose situation. If I win, somebody else loses. In business, it is completely different. In business, you know, you want to have a win-win situation. You want both parties to exit the negotiation table happy, instead of one being sad because he lost or she lost, and the other being happy because he or she won. So this is something different between chess and business. This is something that chess, I think, lacks. That's interesting. Do you have a question? Yes, I do. When we invited you, Joel, to join on our team and to become a part of the cup, it seemed to me you've said a very interesting phrase. I think you said, I need to remember how the chess pieces move. Have you had a chance to remember how they move? Yes, for now, it seems it's coming to me, it's coming. What I meant by saying it is, if you are a top player, a top-level chess player, it obliges, noblesse oblige. You can't play bad if once you played nicely and beautifully. So you need to find time to rehearse, to train, or at least to try to follow the recent matches and games, to support your openings repertoire, to be on the par with your colleagues. If you don't have that time available, then of course you become really worried, because you don't really want, once being a great grandmaster, become an average master. At least these were my thoughts, but for now my opponents were good to me, were kind. So everything's good for now. Joel, what's chess for you? Wow, that's a very dense question. I think chess for me is first and foremost a very good model of life, because in chess you find a lot of things that every person from every background, not just business, sees of his or her own. Chess is the board, is the field where you're trying to search for your boundaries, for your limits. If you reach a certain level quite fast, you realize that going higher is still possible, but it's a hard path. And overcoming challenges step by step, you realize that chess is a very deep game, and the world is also very deep. And of course, they are much more than what you could have thought from the very beginning. That's why I think chess is a new dimension that definitely needs a deep dive in. For every kid, it's a must, because it brings up lots of positive qualities and traits in you. And then it's up to you to decide whether you have any interest in this world. Do you want to continue conquering this peak of the mountain, or there are other peaks awaiting for you? I know, Joel, that you started learning Russian just because of the chess. Is that correct? Yes, it is correct. Can you tell your story? Yes, I grew in France, in Paris. Nobody spoke Russian in my family. And when I was 12 or around, I played nicely already. I was a candidate to the Masters. And in junior championships and in adult championships, I had to face a lot of, well, Soviet chess players. They were still Soviet back in the time. The country was a closed nation, and it was hard to find any information and to get any translated material from that country. And I know, and I knew that if I'm playing with my peers who have access to the books in Russian, untranslated, I'm giving them a big advantage. I'm following in their footsteps. And when I was 12, I talked to my school teacher so that they could bring back a Russian language teacher that once worked in the school. But he said, there is one catch. If it's going to be just you, we will not be doing this. So you need to bring 5 friends. And I convinced 5 friends to join me. I think they didn't realize what they were up to, but I managed to convince them. And for the 6 of us, they brought the Russian teacher back into the school. And that's how I started learning it. Still, the Russian language, you needed it to know what do those chess books say, to get the information firsthand, to learn from the best. Is that correct? Yes, let me explain it. In my home, my family, my father was an ardent lover of chess. He collected lots of books, especially chess books, hundreds and hundreds of them. Half of them were in Russian, written by Mr. Botvinnik or Smyslov or whoever. All the best, the champions of the champions. And some of the less lesser-known champions as well, some of the lesser-known chess players, and only 20% of these books were translated and available in English. That's why, when you're a young chess player and you see all those books, you can only read the notation, but you can't understand the essence of the story behind it, and you really want to overcome the barrier. That's great. That's amazing. It's a beautiful story, truly. What about Japanese? How did you come to learn Japanese? Well, Oksana complimented me too much. Actually, it's undeserved. I don't know Japanese. Although I should. My mother is a Japanese. My father is a French, but my mother is a Japanese. But it so happened that we never spoke Japanese at home. That's why I never had a chance to learn it. When I still had my relatives in Japan, I traveled there on a regular basis, and sometimes in a Tokyo metro. I could read at least the signs and find my way out. But apart from Russian, I learned Spanish and English naturally, and a little bit of German. That's how much I know. It's hard to check whether you know Japanese or not, but we hear how beautifully Joel speaks Russian, no accent whatsoever. It's amazing. Also, I wanted to ask you another question. What are the key qualities one must have in order to win in chess tournaments and matches? Is that the experience? And can you please recall your experience of playing at championships? Or can you recall your recent experience of yesterday's plays? Which qualities? What's the most important when you play chess? That's the question I wanted to ask. I would say this way. The best results are shown and demonstrated by the players when they get to a certain state. I call it a mindset, rather, or even a state, when you have a very clear mind, when you can navigate easily, when you can calculate and count fast. And at the same time, you let your intuition go free. You're not trying to compute all possible moves, you're not trying to explain your hunches logically, because it is known that if you start breaking things into smaller pieces, like when you're a teacher, you're a good teacher then, but you're not a good executor. Same is true for chess. If you're going too deep, if you're trying to compute all the moves, since the game is so complicated, it will never work. It might work for a couple of moves only, then you will be very tired and you will lose a lot of time, and at the end of the day, you will lose the game. So you have to really feel this important state of your mind when you are calculating and computing everything, but at the same time you feel your opponent and you try to feel the position where the game flows. That's the state of mind that you need to try to get into and stay into. You said something about creativity. You're telling this now, and I'm a percussionist. I play drums, and it's the same feeling I have. When you start playing, the first thing you do is you listen and you count, and at one point in time you just enter the rhythm, and the count exists separately from you, and you flow in the flow, you flow in this river, you don't even think what's happening, but it's happening much better than when you just started and you were controlling everything. Exactly. Quotes precisely. Creativity, art, chess is creativity and the model of life. That's what Joel said. I'm collecting answers. Joel, we already had 8 respondents who answered the same questions, and all of the questions, all of the answers were different. I asked them what is chess for you, and all answers were different. Like I said, the game is really complex. And it offers something to everyone. Thank you very much, Joel, for popping up to us before the 5th round, before the first game for today. And I think we need to let you go, because you need to leave our Zoom and you need to get connected to the other Play Zoom. Yes. Good luck, Joel. Good luck. Thank you so very much. We'll see you. Bye-bye. How amazingly well he speaks Russian. How long has he been living in Russia? In Russia? So he studied Russian when he was a child, when he was a teenager, And then he lived in Moscow for some time. When he finished his chess career, he graduated from executive MBA program here at Skolkovo. And after some time, he moved back, and he is now in Barcelona. Actually, Barcelona has a beautiful... Yeah, this is a very beautiful story, learning Russian for chess. Because I remember myself, a story from my own life, that chess books were a big rarity back then. One had to collect them thoroughly. You had to travel around different bookstores, chess bookstores, and in Moscow there are only 2, and you had to assemble your library gradually and laboriously. I had a shelf in my house back then, which gradually saw more and more books. And back then it was really hard to travel to a competition, because you really had to think hard which books you needed to take with you, which recordings. We all learn English to talk to the world. And some people learn Russian to talk to the world of chess. I think it's amazing. I think it's beautiful. It touches me deeply. What else are we to expect? Next. Yes, this is something I wanted to ask you. Do I get it right that some of our viewers who want to watch not just the commentary, but who also want to follow the games, they can log on to the chess results? It's a yes and no answer. The viewers who, for some reason, don't really want to listen to a commentary, although our commentator is amazing, beautiful, wonderful Fiona, Steil-Antoni. She is commentating in English. She is a women's international grandmaster, translating into Russian and also commentating. We have Anastasiya Karlovich, a women's international grandmaster as well. So our commentary will be really nice, and it's much more interesting to watch it with a running commentary. But if for some reason you don't really want to do it, you're on your way, you don't have good connection, you can open up Lichess, and in Lichess you can find a tab of our tournament, FIDE Binance Business School Super Cup, and watch the actual matches and the actual games. You'll have an electronic board, you select the game you want, you connect to it, and you just watch the pieces move. It's a good option should you have no broadband connection or a lot of time. But you can also log on to the chess results if you want to familiarize yourselves with the results. The results are updated on a regular basis. You can always watch which team played against which, who was the player, and what's the composition of every team, and then you can see the results for each board. Amazing. Nice. Yes, and we need to give it over. We need to give the floor to Fiona very soon, and Anastasiya, depending on which broadcast you're watching at the moment. Let us wish now to all of our participants and teams a great luck. Please stay calm, don't lose your calm, don't lose your head, because the closer your match arrives, the bigger is the nervousness when everybody gets connected to the play Zoom. You feel like you sit in the same huge space with lots of people coming from different parts of the world, from different time zones, and everybody's sitting there and being nervous. Of course, nervousness hinders your cool. Please get fun from the games, and great outcomes are great, but it's more of a secondary thing you get from it rather than the primary one. Success to you. Make it calm, make it cool, keep it cool, and I would like to wish everybody success on one hand, and of course supporting and rooting our team, but on the other hand, I remember our yesterday's Fiji guys. I really want to talk to the other guys today, and I really loved what they said. After this round, we should have our Philippine friends coming to our studio, so please stay tuned. There's lots to come. Over to Fiona. Fiona, hello, hello, good luck.
The FIDE Binance Business School Super Cup. My name is Fiona Steil-Antoni, and today I will be taking you through day 2 of this round robin qualifying event. Yesterday we already saw 4 very exciting rounds, and today we will see 3 more. At the end of today, only the top 2 teams from each group. Let's remind everyone, we have 32 teams from 12 countries, and they are divided into 4 groups, so only the top 2 finishers of each group will proceed to tomorrow's knockout final. So today the action, it's going to be thick and fast. Only 3 rounds remain to decide who is going to go through, and just as I say this, I think the games have started. Just like yesterday, let me just, before I bring up the board, let's decide on someone. Who are we going to follow today? I would like to follow some new games. I'm also really hoping that Oxana is going to be playing a game today, so that's something I will keep a close eye on. But for now, I think I'm just going to pick 2 names that we have not seen yesterday, so that we get a little bit get to see a few more people. So here we go. As always, I just see the list of players, so it's hard to know which team they are or what's going on. So we will just tune into the game and try and jump around a little bit. Although having said that, this is a game with quite a big rating difference. As always, I'm looking at the YouTube chat, also the Twitch chat. So if you have any suggestions for which game you would like to look at, you can let me know. As Oxana already mentioned in the show, you can find the games on Lichess in the broadcast section. So if you have any suggestions, let me know. This is a quiet game for now. It started out as a Sicilian Alapin, where white is trying to fight for the center by playing c3 first, and the idea is that after black captures, we can capture with the pawn, and we keep our pawn center intact. Black now attacked the center with knight f6 and knight c3, a normal developing move. Maybe this is actually a game, maybe we should stick here. It's a game where we can learn a lot about opening principles. The Alapin is an opening where there is not so much theory, like yesterday, for example, we saw the Najdorf, where you have to know a lot of the lines by heart. The Alapin is a lot more about just opening principles, and here we see just that. So what are, I would say, if you should just remember 3 opening principles, I think they would be to try and take the center. So that's the first one, take the center. The second one is develop your pieces. So both sides we see are doing that. And the third one, king safety. So there we see black castling king side. So I think this is a good game to explain those opening principles. Bishop h6 is another very standard move. White is looking to exchange this bishop here, this powerful bishop, on g7, and actually black might be underrated, because bishop h8, I think, is a very good option for black. When the rook has already moved in many positions, it is not possible to save the bishop because it is pinned to the rook, but now that the rook has moved, black can keep that bishop. And remember, bishops, they are long-range pieces, and this is a diagonal which for now is safe, but there's always in the future, we already see black is trying to put some pressure on b2, but also against d2, so black is looking for some active play. Queen d8, I'm not so sure about. I really like this last move to bring the queen out, so I'm not too sure why did black decide to bring the queen back. Maybe black was worried about some e5 pushes, and maybe in fact this move bishop h8 was not the best. I'm not sure, because the problem is white's attack can also come quickly. So the queen went back, but white is playing more slowly. White says, I don't want to push in the center yet. For now I will play a3. Maybe it was possible to play a little bit more actively. Black plays rook b8, looking to probably push the b-pawn. The b-pawn only goes to b6, b5 was not possible because we were looking at the square twice with the knight and with the bishop. But I'm really starting to like white's position a lot. Because of these chess principles we were talking about, I think white just has the nice ascent. White has more space, the pieces are placed a little bit more actively, so those are the reasons why I prefer white in this position. And here comes the e5, so finally white says, okay, let me open the center, and after pawn takes, knight takes, maybe pawn takes was a little bit stronger to put some pressure along this d file, but I think there is absolutely nothing wrong with knight takes. And black now plays a5. a5 I don't like so much. Yesterday we talked about weakening squares. The problem when you make a move, and also we talked about how committal pawn moves are. Pawns, and we all know, pawns don't move backwards. So once you play a move like a5, that pawn can never come back to a6. So you're creating some long-term weaknesses here on the light squares, but white decides to play on the other side, with the other side of the board, on the king side, which makes a lot of sense as well. That queen is potentially looking down on f7, and black is not doing anything about it for now, playing queen c8. White goes bishop b5, which makes a lot of sense, and immediately we see white occupies one of those weaknesses which was created by the pawn push a5. If we go back, maybe black should better have played a6 to try and guard some pieces, because now the bishop has landed on b5, and now we see when you play a move like bishop g7, it's in a way admitting a little bit that things have gone wrong, because black just went to h8 some moves ago, and I think some material is going to drop now. Black cannot recapture because f7 is hanging, so black tries queen d8. Maybe what black had to do is to capture on h6. The position probably still difficult, but now it's just a piece down and an exchange as well. So this game has gone wrong very, very quickly for black, and now it is just a full extra rook for white. And I think maybe we will move on. Yesterday, very often we stuck around until the end. Once again, let me know in the chat. We can also continue watching, but I think there were already a lot of instructive moments. Of course, we will wait to see that white doesn't miss this mate that was threatened on g2. Oops, this was my move. This was not the move they played. My apologies. Let's bring back. So after d5, actually black decided to take, but that's another piece that is dropping. I think this game will be over quite soon. After knight takes, black is in huge trouble here. It's not just the material, it is now a rook and a piece, but this king also has no defenders. And I wonder if there's already some mate coming soon. Knight e7 is a nice tactical shot, taking another pawn. And black could not recapture because the rook on b8 was hanging. So instead, black played rook a4, but queen, oops, queen f6 looks like a killer to me. Of course, it's a position that is so winning that everything wins in this spot. So maybe we will watch it until the end, because I think checkmate will happen in just a few moves here. Once again, I think either queen f6 or queen h6 coming closer to the enemy king should be very, very powerful. Also, the problem for black is black has no threats. This pawn, of course, is very well defended. This pawn is attacked, but we don't need that pawn so much. So there's really nothing that white has to be worried about here in this position. But it makes sense as white to take your time, make sure that you're checking everything. This is not a race after all. All that matters is that you win the game. I think white will play one of these two moves. It is also a check. In general, you want to look for checks first. So queen h6 is what white chose, and after king h8, knight f6, very nice, threatening mate, and that cannot be defended. So black resigned here. So we're watching one of the very first games to end. Let's go maybe to the Skolkovo A team. especially since we were just listening to his very interesting interview. I enjoyed that a lot, I have to say. Joël Lautier, by the time I started playing chess more actively, he was almost retired, so I've only seen him a few times in my life. But apart from being such an interesting man with such an interesting career, he's one of the nicest people. And it's so great to see him playing here. Let's remind everyone, I say, you know, he had an interesting career, he's a nice person, but he's also such a strong chess player, as was mentioned in the interview, one of the very, very few players to have a positive score against Garry Kasparov. There's not so many of them. And Joël here with the black pieces, and what is going on? What is going on here? Once again, I immediately see a big weakness on c2. One of the things with the players like Joël, when they are so strong, it feels so natural. They just sort of put their pieces onto the best squares, and they have such a great feeling for where do the pieces belong. And I think this is already a tricky situation here for white. So white is trying to defend this c2, but actually I missed another big problem. This diagonal is also a huge problem for white. So I think in the worst case, Joël can probably just exchange queens and take this pawn on c2, but maybe he's looking for more. So we will see, but no, he does go for queen takes f3. Knight takes is the only move, and there he goes. Taking that pawn, and actually it's not just a pawn, it's a fork against the rook and the bishop. And the problem with this kind of fork is that you cannot defend that bishop with the rook, because those two squares from where you could defend, they are also covered by the knight. So the white's problem here is white is not only going to lose that pawn, but I think he's also going to lose an exchange here. And against a player of Joël's caliber, that is going to be a little bit too much material deficit. An exchange as well as a pawn. So we see there Joël taking that rook on a1. White is going to recapture. And now I think what black is looking to do, black is keeping things very simple, just defending this pawn on a6 to not give white any counter chances at all. And I guess he will activate this last piece, which isn't really playing. There it goes, rook to d8, taking one of the open files available on the board. And just a very, very difficult situation for Joël's opponent, Mr. Shushik. Actually, maybe I can see very quickly who are they playing. I will leave this on. So they are playing, so Skolkovo are playing against, oh, it's the Chicago booth. So the opponent here, Shushik, is the top board for Chicago booth. And the business school of Switzerland, unfortunately, they've again forfeited 4-0. I don't know if they're going to be making a return to the competition. I hope so. But yeah, this is what's happening. This is the Skolkovo A team against Chicago booth. So I think we will watch the end of this game, and after that we will also see the other boards of this match. I see that Skolkovo have already won their game on board 4, so they are leading 1-0 in the match so far. So rook d8, and the problem now is the pressure is piling up against this knight, but also on the d file. Remember, what did I say yesterday? I talked about it a lot. When you are the one who is up material, you want to exchange pieces. So let's say in this situation, if white had moved the knight anywhere, I'm sure Joël would play rook d1, just exchange rooks and get a little bit closer to the win. So here for now we see black just maneuvering a little bit, just improving the pieces. By the way, Skolkovo have also won on board 3, so they are now 2-0 up, and I think Joël will make it, he will make it 3-0 very shortly. It takes a little bit of maneuvering, but it is, as mentioned, it is an extra exchange. and at some point white is not going to be able to cover all the weaknesses. Maybe rook b4, forcing some, although rook b4, I thought that was maybe forcing some more exchanges, but rook c6 also, of course, a completely logical move, looking maybe to come into the second rank, maybe looking coming to the first rank, or maybe just to double on the c file. Shushik is down to 3 minutes, still 5 minutes on the clock for Joel. I see quite a lot of results have already come in, quite a lot of games already over, but we will stick around here. After that we will see what is still going on. I'm also curious, we will be talking to the Philippines team after this round, so I'm of course also looking forward to hearing from them. It's quite late in the day already for the Filipino team, and yeah, here white, I think white is trying his best. White is trying to defend quite stubbornly, and he's doing a pretty good job, because we see there is no immediate KO yet in this position, despite the material advantage. So Joel is just going to have to be patient, and I'm sure he will be patient. Just be patient, try and improve the pieces, maybe try to bring the king, or try to find a pawn break on the king side, or try and find some more weaknesses. For example, this pawn here on f4 is targeted now. So there are a few ideas. The problem for white, it's always much easier for black to make moves in this kind of position than it is for white. So it's much easier to make moves for white, for black, sorry. I lost my train of thought. Much easier to make moves for black than it is for white. And here we see a nice little tactical point. So Joel decides to give back the exchange just to simplify into a one ending. I guess he will follow this up with bishop d2 to attack the pawn on c3 and the knight on e1, or just actually taking the pawn immediately. But now things are not so clear any longer. White has actually done a great job defending this, and now it's only one extra pawn for black. I guess it will still be enough, but this is not an easy conversion for black any longer. Especially with this move h5, taking away the square g6 from the black king. We see Joel give a check. I was curious, where would that king go? Probably the king cannot go forward. Actually, definitely cannot go forward. If the king goes forward, bishop f2 would actually be checkmate. So the king could definitely not go forward. And in that case, h2 is the only other available square. So at least Joel is making progress, kicking back the king. Now bishop comes to f2. I guess the idea is to maybe give this check and try to put pressure on this f4 pawn. But white plays, or actually maybe even give this check and give this back rank check. So that's why white played rook a1 to cover the back rank. But now we see this move, rook f3, and now the problem is white has a few questions to answer here. h6, and now we see this check. I think white has to go to g1, because any other square, if you go to h1, rook f1 would be checkmate. But what is happening here? I think it is progress for black, but it's not so easy. I think black is probably going to either have to push this pawn or bring the king, because right now white is just defending passively, but for now it is enough. There is no straightforward way right now for Joel to break through. We've seen a few repetitions. I don't think that he will go for the draw. A draw would be enough for his team, but I think Joel will be looking to win this game with the extra pawn. But I think it was a lot easier, maybe giving up the exchange It looked like a good practical choice at the time, but maybe he really made his life more difficult, not easier. But now we see the king is looking to come to d5, and for example, if the king came here and white gave a check, then we could have blocked with the rook. Now is a very interesting moment. Is Joel going to exchange rooks and bring the king? That looks very tempting. Or is he going to keep the rooks on the board? So a big moment here. Thankfully, he still has almost 3 minutes on the clock, so that's plenty of time to think about the decision. My guess is he will exchange rooks. He will exchange rooks because there he goes. Rook takes, king takes will be played, and then king to d5 and king to e4. And I don't think white can stop us from coming to e4, and then this pawn is going to drop. And with the 4 pawns against 2, that would be enough. We see white understood that pawn is going to be lost, so let me push the pawn. And now, okay, black did not win a pawn, but the problem is this passed pawn is going to be very dangerous. So maybe we're just going to play king to e4, king to e4, and actually white is in Zugzwang. Zugzwang is a position where if you could say, I will pass my move, you play. It's not so easy here for black to make progress, but the problem is white has to make a move. And we cannot push this pawn because everything would fall. And if we play a king move, the king will come into f3, targeting the pawn on g4. And if we play the knight, which is what white did, then bishop h4. And now we see the king taking all those white pawns. White manages to take 1 pawn, but that's not going to be enough. Now f5, and those pawns are going to run. We see Joel taking the 3rd pawn. So it was a tough. I think Joel's opponent put up some really impressive, resistance, and kudos to him. But Joel is going to make it a 4-0 victory for his team, the Skolkovo A team. And this game lasted so long that only very few games, only 3 or 4 games remain after this. I'm a little bit surprised his opponent has not resigned yet. I think his opponent played so well that he's for sure a decent player. And someone like Joel Lautier, he knows how to checkmate with a queen, but he's going to have to demonstrate to all of us that he knows how to do it. He's going to bring the king. No, he actually made very quickly, while we weren't looking, a new queen and checkmated his opponent. Okay, so congratulations to Skolkovo A team on this 4-0 victory to start the day. What else do we have going on? I've brought up Gagi Cave. Actually, we've seen quite a few of Gagi Cave's games yesterday, I feel, but Gagi Cave is in some difficulty here. Black is down 2 pawns. Black is down 2 pawns, but the biggest problem is this passed pawn is so advanced. Another problem for black is that these 2 bishops are on the same color. If they were on opposite colors, that would give black a much more drawing chances. But here this is looking tough for black to defend this, but let's see, what can black do? The problem is, could we not have, okay, first we save the rook, and now we take here, and then after king takes, I think we can just push that pawn. Or this is even stronger, maybe just bringing the king, or bringing the king here. I think both are good enough. The king wants to go and help support the passed pawn. So here I think we will see this game being over very shortly. And where did that bishop go? That bishop, I think black forgot about the rook on d5, so that bishop was lost. And now it's just a matter of technique here. And I thought black resigned, but no, the game is still going on. White is going to get a new queen, and unless, oh, careful, if king, oh, but there was a last trick. If white got a queen, it wouldn't even be a stalemate, because there was still a square. There was still a square on h6, but still white played it safe. Only getting a queen now. The king is running out, so white is getting a second queen. There's a lot of queens. I always feel the more material you get, the bigger the danger that there is going to be a stalemate somewhere, but white found the mate, and I think now we only have 2 more games going. One of them is this. Maybe we should watch this. This is a bit more interesting. The other, to be honest, I have never seen. I have been playing chess and commentating on chess for a long, long time, and I think I have never seen this ending of rook and bishop against rook and bishop. Of course, it should just be a draw. We will come back here. We will see if they are still playing. But let's first watch, well, this ending. Those are the only 2 games that are still going. This one is now completely winning for black. But I think maybe we should stick around here, because the time situation, black has 20 seconds, so 20 seconds. Let's remind everyone, the time control is 10 minutes plus 2 seconds, so plenty of time to convert this game. We see black using the king to help advance the pawns. The other game is still going, the rook and bishop against rook and bishop. The funny thing is, even if one of the sides were to lose their bishop, rook against bishop is still a theoretical draw, but it's very hard to defend. So I really hope, and okay, white actually resigned here. So let's go back. Let's go back to the last game of the round. Rook and bishop against rook and bishop. How long have we? Let's remind everyone. So after, there is a 50 move rule. So if 50 moves are played without a pawn push or without an exchange, in this case there are no more pawns, so if no piece gets exchanged after 50 moves, the game is automatically declared a draw. We are currently on move 82, and okay, the rooks were exchanged and the draw was agreed. That was some really exciting stuff. And a great start to the 5th round and the second day here at the FIDE Binance Business School Super Cup. So with that, I think very shortly we will be going back to the studio to talk to our participants from the Philippines. And just like that, only 2 rounds remain. We will have a look at the results before the next round starts to see who are the favorites to qualify, which are the closest groups, where is the battle the closest. So we will look at all that after the break, I think, or after the studio anyway. And yeah, we will go back to the studio in just a moment. But I really, this endgame, let me know in the chat, have you ever seen a rook? Have you ever seen a rook and bishop against rook and bishop endgame be played? I have never, and there's a lot of, I think very often we will see just king and rook against king and rook. That I have seen many times. But never this one, never king rook and bishop against king rook and bishop. I'm happy that it ended in a fair draw, but for me, certainly the highlight of this round was Joël Lautier's game. And once again, congratulations, of course, to Joël on winning, but also congratulations to his opponent, who really put up a great fight. And I think the studio is ready, so I'm going to pass it back over to Oxana and Ivan, who will be talking to our participants from the Philippines, and I will be back for round 6, so I will see you then.
Привет, наш дорогой зритель.
Hello,
Мы приветствуем
our
тебя в
dear
студии
viewers, and we
Classroom
welcome
бизнес-школы
you to our
Сколково.
studio. We are here at Classroom in Skolkovo. We're coming back from round 5, but
But
we're not alone.
We,
as yesterday, will be regularly connecting with the teams because we would like to get familiar with the representatives of many schools out there. Yesterday, we had a connection with Fiji, and now we welcome Philippines. Today, now, according to Moscow time, it's 11 p.m. So it's a team that feels, well, really hard because it's quite late for them and it's becoming really hard to get your brain together. But we're so happy that our Philippines team is here, and we welcome Rona Reijner from Asian Institute of Management. Rona, hello, hello.
Приветствуем, Рона. Как ваши
Hello
дела?
everyone.
Здравствуйте.
Good evening from the Philippines
Добрый
and good
вечер вам
morning
из
to good afternoon to
Филиппин
yours.
и добрый день, Москва.
Как вам наш турнир?
How
Как
do
вы
you find our
поиграли?
tournament? How was your play? How was your games?
Как оцениваете
Well,
уровень игроков?
What's the level of the players, do you think?
I think from the group B we
Мне
had
кажется, в нашей
two
группе
high-ranking
Б у
two
нас были
groups who are
две группы высокого
high-ranking,
рейтинга,
and I think we're on the
и
third or fourth spot. But so far we're fighting, and my team is
результаты
doing
у них
their
достаточно
best
хорошие, но наша команда продолжает бороться и
play
демонстрирует
hard
максимум.
and enjoy the
Мы
game.
активно работаем, активно играем и наслаждаемся игрой.
С кем уже играли? С какими
Who have you already
представителями
played
каких стран
with?
удалось поиграть?
Representatives of which country had you already had across the chessboard?
The last time I played with
Прошлый
I think
раз
FIDE Master,
я
and
играл,
I
по-моему,
think
с
Honor Group hit
мастером FIDE.
top 1, and this is just my last game, and I lost it.
Последняя моя игра, я ее проиграла, к сожалению.
But I really had fun with my
Но
last game.
мне очень понравилась моя последняя игра. Очень хороший был матч.
Рона, а где вы сейчас находитесь?
Rona,
Мне
where are you
кажется,
now?
что у вас ветер обдувает волосы.
Now?
Yeah, where are you? Because it seems like
На улице
there's
где-то.
winds. Are you outside or are you inside?
I'm inside the house.
Я внутри
Maybe it's
дома.
because of my fan.
Это у меня вентилятор работает.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Can you
Смотрите.
hear it
Какая
now?
температура у вас? Вас жарко там?
What's your temperature now? Is it hot?
Yeah, so hot. It's
Очень жарко.
from my place it's 30 degrees.
30 градусов, вот там, где я сижу.
Это не очень жарко. У нас в Москве
That's not
сейчас
very
на
hot
улице
because in
36.
Moscow, outside it's 36.
Oh, Really, because it's night tonight. It's already night.
У нас уже вечер,
But in
поэтому
the
у нас так
morning we
холодно.
have,
А
I
с
think,
утра у нас
less than
градусов,
40.
ну, менее 40 точно не бывает.
Ладно, понял. Жарче,
Сверимся
чем
в
Okay,
11
Claire.
вечера тогда, да.
We'll call you at
Роберт,
11
скажите,
p.m. in
пожалуйста, о
Moscow.
вашем
Okay, Rona, can you please
университете?
tell
У нас
something about
потому
your
что,
university?
оказывается, у
Because
нашей школы,
it turns out that our school,
Сколково,
the business school of
есть
Skolkovo,
связь с вашей школой.
has
Сейчас попробуем
some
это
established
понять. Сейчас
connections
попробуем
with
это
your
понять.
school. We'll try to figure
Вы
that out
же
first.
из
We'll first try
Asian
to find it out. You're from
Institute of
Asian Institute
Management.
of Management,
Правильно?
right? Is that correct?
Yes,
Да, да, да.
yes. Asian Institute of Management is the first business
Азиатский
school
институт
in the
менеджмента —
Philippines,
это первая
and it's
бизнес-школа на
connected with
Филиппинах.
Harvard. Our
Есть у меня
teaching
связи
is
и с
also
Гарварда.
related to Harvard.
И
We
есть
do
у нас
our
некоторые курсы в Гарварде
CAN
непосредственно.
groupings, and we do our learning team. So that's
Есть у
our
нас и
methodology in
совместные
our
проекты, совместная
school,
методология,
and we have a lot of
разрабатываются
connection to all
различные
to the
совместные
world. And
проекты. У нас
we have
другие
a
связи с
lot
другими
of
университетами мира также
students
налажены.
from Asia,
Приглашаются к
and
нам
they
студенты
prefer
учиться и из Азии, в том числе.
enroll in our school because of
И
the
очень наша
high
школа им
standard that
нравится,
we've
потому что
given
у
to
нее очень высокий
the
стандарт,
students.
и мы можем доносить до них высокий стандарт образования.
And also, and I will just
И
tell you that
также
we are
необходимо сказать,
in the
что
Philippines the first
на Филиппинах
institute or school
первый институт или первая
who
школа,
offered data analytics
которая предлагает как
only
раз
in Asian Institute of
возможности
Management.
изучать аналитику данных, это наш институт.
Аналитику данных.
Data
Удивительно.
analytics.
Дело
That's
в том,
surprising.
что прямо сейчас я, собственно,
Just
возглавляю этот
because
проект.
now I am
Мы
heading that
делаем
project,
Masters in
and
Management
we're doing
Analytics.
Masters in
Это
Management
как раз программа
Analytics.
по аналитике данных.
This is a data analytics
Поэтому тема
program.
актуальная и
That's
очень
why it's a
классная.
very relevant
Кстати,
topic for us, and it's a cool one as
знаете ли
well.
вы такой
By the way,
университет, как
do you know
Hong Kong
such a university
University of
as
Science and
Hong
Technology?
Kong University of
Гонконгский
Science and
университет наук и
Technology?
технологий.
I know that school, but I don't have.
Я знаю эту школу, но, к
Yes, I don't
сожалению,
have.
да, я знаю, но у меня нет никого знакомого.
Good background about that. I know that.
Знаете ли
Да,
вы
знаю название.
такого довольно известного в мире
Do you know
бизнес-образования
such
человека,
a
как Стивен
famous
Декрей?
person as Steil-Antoni in business education?
Oh.
Дело в том, что Стивен
The thing
Декрей
is that Steven
был
has
президентом
headed and was a president
филиппинского как раз
of the
Asian
Philippine
Institute of
Asian
Management
Institute
на
of
протяжении
Management
нескольких лет,
for a
а
couple of
сейчас он
years in a
возглавляет
row. And now
International Academic
he's heading the
Council
International
в
Academic
бизнес-школе
Council
Сколково. Он
at
наш
Skolkovo
партнер,
Business
я
School. He's
лично с
actually
ним
our
делал
partner,
многие
and I
программы,
personally
и это
made
получается
a lot of
связующее
programs
звено
with
между
him. So
бизнес-школой
he is a link
Сколково и вашим
between Skolkovo
университетом.
and your university.
Oh, maybe you can go here in the Philippines.
Тогда, может быть, вы на
The
Филиппины
Asian
поедете?
Institute of Management.
Может быть, вы к нам тогда?
Soon after the
Сразу
COVID.
Скоро, после того, как ковид закончится.
Договорились.
Да, мы можем
Agreed,
сделать
definitely.
дружеский матч.
We can even do
меня
a friendly match
У
there.
меня интересы будут
Or
партнерские.
joint program.
Я хочу совместную программу вместе с
Actually, I want to establish a
с
joint
вашим
program
университетом
together with
по
your
мастерс
university.
и обмен
We would
в
like
рамках
to have a master's
мастерс-программ.
program, and maybe we can have an exchange between the master's program. Let's discuss that. I think it's
Как у
cool.
нас совместная
Yeah,
программа
that's good, that's good.
Конечно,
That's a
давайте,
good.
давайте.
да, также
Здорово.
как раз с Asian Institute of Management сделать,
Yes,
верно?
and we can do the same kind of
Отличная
joint program with the
Ладно,
Asian
возвращаемся
Institute
к
of Management we
шахматам, а
have
то
with
я
others.
могу
Yes,
об
let's go back to chess,
бизнес-образовании
because
вечно
otherwise I
говорить.
can talk about business
Вот как раз
education for a very long time.
такой
Actually,
главной идеей Кубка была,
one of
что
the main
мы
ideas of
можем,
this cup,
с
one of the main
помощью
ideas of this cup
шахмат,
was that with chess
подружиться, да,
we can
рассказать
become
друг о
friends.
друге и как
We
раз делать
can
какие-то совместные
talk about each
программы,
other and we can
проекты.
make
Yes,
joint
давайте
projects
это
and we can
делать.
make joint
Вчера
programs.
один из
Yes,
наших
let's do it.
корреспондентов говорил,
Yesterday,
что
one of our
шахматы для него
respondents
это
said
друзья,
that
это
chess
общение.
for him is
Вот,
friends,
и
is
давайте
communication.
заводить новых
So
друзей,
let's
давайте
do more of
общаться.
that. Let's find new
Кстати,
friends.
а
Let's
что
communicate more.
есть
By the
шахматы
way,
для вас?
what's
Что
chess for
такое
you?
шахматы?
What is
Что для
chess
вас
for you?
шахматы?
Actually, chess is my life.
Вот шахматы для меня это жизнь.
Before,
Дело в
of
том,
course,
что,
you know,
ну, понятно,
Philippines is a third world
вы
country,
понимаете, что Филиппины это
and
страна третьего мира, и
I'm one of the poor
я
people.
одна из тех
But because of chess, I
людей,
graduated
которые
from
не
elementary
родились
to
в богатых
college
семьях, у которых
and
нет
finished my
такого
school
большого
because of
благосостояния, но
chess.
благодаря шахматам я смогла
And
окончить
I'm very
колледж,
happy with
закончить
that
школу
one.
и поступить,
That's
и
why chess is
отучиться.
my life.
И вот почему я так счастлива.
Every now and
Шахматы
then
— это
after
моя
work, I
жизнь.
play a little,
И сейчас
but
я играю не так
still,
много, как раньше, когда я была
I'm happy
ребенком,
to
но до сих
have
пор
this
играю.
game
И
in
я
my
рада,
life.
что именно шахматы смогли мою жизнь таким образом направить в нужное русло.
Получается, что шахматы это
So it turns out
еще
that
некоторый
chess
социальный лифт,
is a social
который позволил
elevator
вам
for you,
добиться.
right?
А
That
каким
help you
образом
to
они вам
achieve what
помогли?
you've achieved.
Вы
How
сказали,
did they help
поступить в колледж,
you?
окончить
You
его.
said
Как
that
вам
you got to
шахматы
college
именно
and you
это
graduated
сделать
from
помогли?
college. How did
Можете
chess help
немножко
you to do
рассказать
that?
об этом?
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Actually, 10 years ago, go
10
and
лет тому назад
play in a national tournament
Я
here in the
играла
Philippines.
на
It's
национальном парламенте здесь,
a
на
very
Филиппинах.
prestigious
Национальный
tournament.
тurnament является одним
That
из
is a
престижных мероприятий,
university
которые
tournament for
организуются университетами.
higher schools, or
В
we
основном
call
это
some
высшие
schools here in
учебные
the Philippines. So that's a big school.
учреждения или
We call
некоторые
I don't want to be
школы
stereotype, but
старшего
we
образования
have
здесь, на
the
Филиппинах.
big schools
Ну, есть у
to
нас такие
play
большие
on that
школы,
tournament.
да, которые в этом турнименте,
And
которые
I'm
в этом
part of that.
турнире играют, и меня взяли для того, чтобы я представлял их команду.
Да, кстати, вот иногда какой-то разряд
Yes,
в
sometimes
шахматах или звание
when you get a title in chess, or when you get
на какие-то
a
программы
specific,
или
like you know,
даже
prowess in chess, it helps you to get to specific programs and get enrolled in university, so that you can get a
Это как
degree.
дополнительный
It's
бонус
an added
при
bonus
адмиссии, при
when you're
поступлении
admitted,
в
when there's an
университет или
admission
программу.
to the
Прямо
university.
сейчас я собираюсь
Right
вступить на
now,
испытание на одну из наших мастерс-программ.
I am already
вот
doing
теперь
an
вы мне
admission for
подали
one of our
идею,
master's program. You actually supplied me with an idea. Why not
почему бы
ask
не
people
давать
whether they can do
преференции
chess?
тем, кто
We
добились
already discussed
определенных
that. We can
успехов
give
в
preferences
разных
to
видах
people who've
спорта.
already got
И,
success in
конечно же,
some
если мы
types of
говорим про
sports.
программу по аналитике
And
данных, то
since
успехи в
it's data
шахматах
analytics program,
отлично
success in
подходят
chess is a
как
great approach, is a great
референсное
opportunity.
значение по тому,
It can
насколько
be a
человек
reference
подходит на
point,
программу или
and you
нет.
can see whether the person
Это
fits for the
классная идея.
program or not by knowing whether he plays chess or not. So it's a cool idea.
Yes,
Что
that's
ж,
good. That's a
я
big
сейчас
thing.
Конечно,
проверю.
замечательно.
Шахматы для вас — это,
So
вы
chess for
сказали,
you, like you
шахматы для
said,
вас
is
—
your
это
life,
жизнь.
right?
Это очень,
Yes.
Точно.
очень красивая аналогия.
That's a very
Спасибо
beautiful
вам, Дима.
analogy. Thank you very much for providing us with it.
Рона,
Thank you so
успели
much
ли вы
too.
отправить
спасибо. Rona, had you had a chance
состав
to
своей команды на
send the
шестой раунд?
composition of your team for round 6? Have you had a chance to
Как
apply
капитан
for the round
команды. Я
6,
просто
being
на
the
всякий
captain of the
случай
team? I'm just
уточняю, да,
checking. I'm
чтобы
just
вас
checking with
вовремя
you,
отпустить в
so that
игровой
there is
зум.
enough time for you to go and play.
I think I don't
Да, у
have.
нас
I
Рона капитан команды
Because Rona
Филиппин,
is a
да,
captain of
и
Philippines team, and
капитаны
she needs
должны
to
не забывать
apply.
отправлять
Yeah,
состав
the
Да,
captains shouldn't forget
команды.
about
лучше
sending the
вас
composition
отпускать,
of the team.
чтобы
Rona,
вы
Поэтому
we
я
should
вот иногда,
probably
да,
let you go
переживаю,
earlier
что
rather than
наши
later.
гости,
Sometimes
которые
I'm really
приходят к
worried
нам
and
в студию,
nervous when
вовремя
our
успевать
guests come to
возвращаться в
our
игровой,
studio. They
в
need to
игровой
go
зал.
back to their
Чтобы это не
play
оказалось
hall, to their play
уловкой
zone.
русских ребят,
We
которые
don't
хотят,
really
чтобы
want that
русские
to be
команды
like a
побеждали.
Russian guy's trick for the non-Russian teams not to win,
Мы
keeping you all the
переживаем,
time
чтобы
here in the
вы
studio. We are worried.
обязательно
We
отправили
really want you
состав своей
to
команды.
have time to send
Всё в
the
порядке?
composition of your
Да, кстати,
team.
всё
Will you
верно.
have time for
Хорошо,
that?
сейчас команда
Yes.
Филиппин будет
Can
играть
А могу я?
can you give me 1 minute? I want to check.
бизнес-школой
Могу? Одну минуту буквально.
вышки. Да, да, да.
Yes, please. What did
Да,
you want?
слушаем вас.
I would like to thank Asian Institute of
Хочу
Management
поблагодарить
for
Азиатский
allowing us
институт
to
менеджмента за то,
participate
что
in
они
this
позволили нам
competition.
участвовать в этом
And I would like to
соревновании.
thank my
И также хотелось
teammates,
поблагодарить
Sir
всех
Raymond,
своих
Sir John,
сокомандников,
Sir Wilson, Sir
и
Patrick, and
сэра
Sir
Патрика, и господина
Randy,
Вилсона, и Альфреда, и
for
Рэнди, и
even
всех.
it's night here until
Несмотря на то, что у
morning, we're
нас
still
сегодня
doing
ночь,
our best
и
to play the
несмотря на
game.
то, что скоро у
That's
нас уже
all.
будет утро,
And
мы
thank you
все
for the
играем по
organizers
максимуму. Огромная
to have
благодарность
this
нашим
kind of
организаторам за то, что у нас есть такая возможность
tournament. And
участвовать в
thank you and
мероприятиях
have
подобного
a
плана
nice
и
afternoon.
уровня. Всем приятного времени
So,
и хорошего вечера субботнего.
Рона, кстати, я хочу уточнить,
Rona,
как
by
вы
the way,
узнали
I
о
actually
нашем
wanted to
турнире,
find out
потому
how
что
did you
вы
came
подали
to know about
заявку
our
в
tournament,
один из
because you
последних дней.
applied, you jumped on the bandwagon in one of the last days,
Как вы узнали о
basically.
турнире?
How did you come to know about the tournament?
Actually, the office of our dean sent a
Наш
letter
декан
that
разослал новостное
student
письмо
and staff can
всем
join the
студентам и
tournament,
персоналу,
and then
сообщил о том, что мы можем
I
поучаствовать в
told the
турнире.
office that I can join, and then
И
some
я
of
деканат
the
пришла, сообщила о
students
своей
sent
готовности, и
a
некоторые студенты
willingness to join also, so we
также
have one
выразили свое
team now.
желание, поэтому у нас
And
команда
so
быстро
we're very
собралась.
lucky on the last
И
day
нам очень
that we
повезло, что мы
got 2
успели в
more
последний
reserves
день, и еще два у
to
нас
have a
запасных как раз
complete team.
добавилось, потому что до этого их не было.
Что ж, спасибо большое, Рона, что
Thank you
Спасибо
so very
большое,
much,
Рона,
Rona.
за
Thank
то,
you
что
for
были с
joining
нами в
us.
эфире,
Thanks
за
for
участие
being
в
with us
участие
here
в
online.
турнире,
Thanks for
и удачи
participating
вам.
in the
Удачи
tournament,
вам
and
и
good
вашей
luck to you.
команде.
Good luck to you and your team.
Thank you. See you here in the Philippines.
Вам спасибо. Увидимся на Филиппинах.
Пока-пока.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ну, что я могу сказать?
Очень приятно, да,
What
очень
can I
приятно
say?
видеть
Such a-
разных гостей, абсолютно из
Such a
разных
pleasure to
уголков.
welcome different
И
guests from different
приятно как раз
parts
еще даже
of the
договариваться о
world,
каких-то
and
новых
it's
интересных
great that when you
проектах.
can agree on
Да,
some
да,
interesting
да.
projects, new
Интересно,
projects
что они
like
делают
that.
параллельно такую же программу, как мы
Yes,
сейчас.
it's great that we're doing
Ну что,
a
передаем
parallel
сейчас
program to ours.
слово нашим
Yes, and we're
прекрасным
passing the floor
комментаторам
to
и
some of our
желаем
amazing
удачи,
commentators,
потому что
and
сейчас
we
уже
wish them
будет
luck.
шестой тур.
And
Шестой
now
тур
we're gonna
впереди.
go for the sixth round. Sixth round
Оставайтесь с
is
нами.
before us.
Давайте
Stay with
посмотрим.
us. Stay tuned.
Баталии.
Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the battles.
Hello and welcome back. Thank you
Добро
so much,
пожаловать назад
Oksana, Ivan, but also
на
Rona, who was
комментарии
such a
на командный кубок
great
по
guest.
шахматам
It
среди
was really
бизнес-школ.
lovely hearing from her all the way
Очень
from
здорово
the
услышать
Philippines.
филиппинскую
I also
шахматистку
love how
Рону.
these new projects can happen thanks
И
to
было
chess. I
здорово
think chess
увидеть,
really
как
connects us.
новые
So
происходят
great
прямо
to
в
hear
прямом
from
эфире
Rona. And
студии.
I really
И
hope, Ivan, Rona, you make it happen. Would love to see Ivan and Oksana in the Philippines in the very near future. As I said, we're still waiting for round 6 to start. It will start any moment. I wanted to very quickly show you guys the cross tables. I'm not going to show the results this time because I think we're getting closer to that time when we want to know who is going to qualify. Let's remind everyone, the top 2 teams from each group will go through. And I was having a look at the standings during the break. Except for one group, it's all incredibly close. This is Group A. We see currently the Shriram College of Commerce from India is leading with 15.5 points. Then in very close second, we have the Finance University under the government. Although having said that, I think these are just the board points. Now I've been caught off guard. Now I suddenly don't know, is it team points or is it board points? I had looked it up. But now I'm suddenly not sure. But if it says this is tiebreak 1, let me confirm with our lovely team that it is board points for the final standings. Let me just double check. Because as we can see, so basically what I'm saying is the cross table on chess results 15.5 is just the total number of points scored by the Shriram College of Commerce in terms of boards. We see the Kingston Business School of London, for example, unfortunately, they have only scored 3 points, 1 point in 3 different matches so far. So I will wait for confirmation. But I assume, usually chess results are very trustworthy, so I assume that is correct. In which case it's very close between the Shriram College of Commerce and the Finance University under the government, but also the Mulungushi University from Zambia. So those three teams are very, very close in terms of the standings. Then in the B group, I think the B group is the only group where it's not so close. Actually, the MIPT business schools have won all their matches, the first 5 matches 5-0. That's why they have 20 points, which is just simply incredible. Okay, so yeah, the first tiebreak is indeed points, so that's game points. So that is correct. So that also means, I think, that the MIPT Business School is already pretty much sure to go through. They still have a big clash coming up, though, against MGIMO, which are the second in this group at 18 points. I think the MIPT Business Schools and MGIMO are both fairly certain to go through. Then Group C, things are very, very close. The University of Toronto is actually leading right now with 17.5 points, closely followed by the Skolkovo A team on 16.5. But the Adam Business School, they still have to play against the University of Toronto, actually. Let me see, is that going to happen in this round? Because if it is, that is happening in this round. I think that is a match we should probably follow. I will try to follow that match because it might decide who is going to go through in this group, very close group. And finally, in Group D, the Russians also in the lead, taking the top 4 places there. But also here, things are close between the Perm State National Research University, between RANEPA, and between the Moscow School of Management, aka the Skolkovo, the B team. The B team is actually doing quite well. They still have some chances to go through. So let me see, the round has just started. And I remember some of the names that were playing yesterday on the Adam Smith team. I think they had Tatiana and her either husband or brother Oleg. So let me see if I can find them in the list. Can I find them? If somebody knows what their names, did I find them? I'm very close to finding them, but not just yet. Maybe I can share my screen. Maybe you guys can help me. If anyone in the chat remembers what the names were, because I just have this big list. I would love to follow that match. If anyone remembers from yesterday. So here is the Skolkovo team. So they shouldn't be too far. Skolkovo, by the way, has taken a 1-0 lead already. They have taken Amatros. Okay, we have found them. Because I think Amatros is the second board. So this is the first board. This is the first board of this match, and I'm not sure why somehow again the names have been cut out, but now it should all be good. So we're looking at the top board game in this big clash between the University of Toronto and the Adam Smith Business School. And Mr. Kujaj, he's the top board for the University of Toronto. Let me just double check that. It's all not so easy, but we will get there. So yeah, Mr. Kujaj, the top board for the University of Toronto, and Oleg Kirsanov, the top board for the Adam Smith Business School. Both teams are quite equally weighted. So this is going to be, I think, one of the most exciting matches we have watched so far. So what is going on in the game? We missed the opening phase, but right now I'm not going to go back because there's a lot going on. All the pieces are still on the board. All 8 pawns are still on the board, so nothing has been exchanged yet, and it's quite a closed position. It looks like black has a little bit more space in the center with this beautiful pawn formation in the two central squares. And white says, I want to fight against your center. I will play c4. And I talk about this quite a lot when I do commentary, when I stream. I think these are some of the most difficult positions in chess to understand when should we try and break the center, when should we try and push the pawn, when is the right moment. It's not an easy decision. In this case, black decided to not capture any pawn or to not push, but just play rook to d8 and activate the last piece. Actually, the rook was already on c8, my apologies. But black felt the rook will be better placed on d8. We see the two rooks behind those two central pawns, and white plays knight to h4, attacking the bishop on g6. And now once again black has a decision to make. Is he going to try and save this bishop? Is he going to let white capture? If it were me, I would prefer to save the bishop. Maybe black is considering about going to h5, but no, bishop h7 I think is the move that I would also play. I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign, but I would also try and save this bishop. Now white is the first one to make a decision in the center and captures on d5. I think recapturing with the pawn seems like the normal move to play. Actually, I failed to. Let me see very quickly, because I told Oxana, who is one of our two presenters, she's also the little sister of Alexandra Kosteniuk, former women's world champion. I told her, if you're playing today, let me know. But I see she's not playing in this match, so she only has, well, she has one more chance in round 7, and then another chance in the knockouts. If she plays, I definitely want to have a look at her game. We saw black recaptured towards the center, the most logical move on the board, and now rook c1, taking the open file and attacking the queen on c5. And now the question is, where is that queen going to go? The queen has a few options. There's quite a few squares available. Oh, actually, so b6 is available, b5 is available, a5, but it can also go backwards. So there's a few options, but I think staying somewhere on the queen side makes the most sense. Queen a5 would be an attacking move, and actually a double attacking move. It would attack the knight on d2 as well as the pawn here. I suspect there is a way for white to take care of both, or maybe black would not be able to capture this poison pawn because the queen would probably end up getting trapped on a2. So a2 is probably not a pawn we want to take as black. But still, I have to say that I'm liking black's position for now. This is a very even fight here. Also in terms of clock situation, both players just under 6 minutes. I think what we will do, we will come back here. We will very quickly go and see what's happening on the other board. So I will go to board 2, where Amatros is representing the Adam Smith Business School from Scotland. And he, I think, is one of the highest rated players in the whole competition behind Joël Lautier. He's an international master, and I think his team will be looking for him to get a win here with the white pieces, but the position is quite even right now. Of course, white has the bishop pair, but no crazy advantage. So I will also come back here later. I just want to understand what is going on in the match, so I will go to board 3. So here Toronto is playing with the white pieces, and what is going on here? This at first sight looks quite nice for white. White is also up a pawn right now. Maybe this pawn will drop, but I always love some attacking possibilities but it's also not, it's not completely clear. So this match, I think this match is going to really be really interesting. Black can just take the extra pawn back now, and I'm gonna see quickly go to the bottom board where Tatiana where did I lose those teams? Where Tatiana Kirsanova is playing for the Adam Smith Business School. So she's playing here with the white pieces against Diana Nasibulina, I believe, with Diana being the slightly higher rated player. So this is one of the games where I think the University of Toronto is looking for a win with the black pieces, and the position does look quite good for black. Black has the bishop pair, it has the more active pieces, white's pawn structure is a little bit damaged, so this is looking good for black, but what a match. I thought maybe one game is gonna be almost over and it will be easier for me. But no, this match is close on all four boards. So I'm going to jump back to the top board, the game that we were following, and I will stay there. So after rook c1, black took some time and decided to go to a5. White played rook c2 to defend this knight. As I mentioned, I was talking about this pawn. This pawn cannot be captured because rook a1 would trap the queen on a2, so black decided instead to play knight to c5, centralizing the knight, and white now dropped back the bishop to also increase the protection on a2, but also on the knight on d2. Black played queen a6 and white played a3, asking this bishop, where are you going to go? And now this is a position on the board. Actually, black has taken quite a big lead on the clock, and I think this pawn is going to drop. I think the pawn on b3 can be captured, and there he goes. Oleg has taken that pawn, and I think black's position is getting better and better here. a3 is also going to become a long-term weakness now. So I think this is looking tricky. This is looking tricky for Mr. Kujash, who is, let me tell you his real name, Jafarian Kusha, with a FIDE rating of 2163. So those are some good players. But Oleg Kirsanov, his FIDE rating is 2275. So both very good, very strong players. But this is going to be a struggle to defend for Mr. Kujash. He plays bishop c3. I guess there's a few options now for black, but black decides to take in the center, to take on e4 and to just capture that pawn that we were talking about, that weakness on a3, and black is now up 2 pawns. Black is now up 2 pawns, and white does not have too many counter threats. White has the bishop pair. I have talked about the bishop pair quite a lot, but the thing about the bishop pair is the bishop pair is much stronger in open positions. I think this bishop has some future, but right now the bishop on g2 is kind of blocked in by its own pawns. So that bishop is not really doing very much for now, and that's why in this particular position the bishop pair is not so much of a trump. Knight d4, by the way, is a fork against the rook and the queen, so white had no choice but to capture that knight. And now white has one more additional problem to deal with. It is this passed d-pawn, which is right now threatening to come to d3 with devastating power. That would be a fork against the rook and the queen, which is why the rook has gone to a2 to attack the black queen and force the queen to move back. I would probably just put my queen behind the pawn. Black has to be a little bit careful, because white is now going, I think, to take 1 pawn back. I think white is going to take the pawn on a7, and suddenly b7 also becomes quite weak. But black says, okay, let me just push, and use my passed pawn. Pawn to d3. That pawn is only 2 squares away from d1, where it will become a new queen. And the problem is the queen has to drop back, and there drops another pawn. e2 falls, and at the same time the bishop from e2 is defending the pawn on b7, so a multi-purpose move. By the way, all 4 games are still going on in this match. This match which might very well decide which of these 2 teams are going to go through to the knockout stages. So a lot at stake. So many games have finished already, but here the whole match, all 4 boards are still going on. This top board is looking good. It is looking good for the Adam Smith Business School. White has just decided to capture on e4, and now a choice for black how to recapture. Black decides to recapture with the knight and brings the pawn all the way to d2. Black still has only 1 extra pawn, but I say only because it is a huge extra pawn. In fact, the passed pawn is so strong that I wasn't even looking for a second. I was not even looking. Black played d2 and I said, yeah, black is pushing that pawn. But that was a queen sacrifice. Wait, no, that was not that was a queen blunder. Did that really happen? I was way too casual. I just forgot about the queen on e7. Sometimes there can be some broadcast errors, but we haven't seen any of them yet. Could it be that black was thinking I can take here on f2 and get a new queen? But the problem is queen b3, and there's a big... Let me go back to show that you cannot get a new queen, because queen f7, queen g7 will be made. So rook f8 has to be played, but now the right rook... Oh my goodness, what a crazy turnaround. What a crazy turnaround, and black can resign. Black can resign. Black is down a queen. I think he's going to play on out of shock, but black was completely winning in this game and just lost the queen. I think he probably missed this queen b3 move, which was a very nice defense, but maybe that was not what he missed, because queen b3 was not the only move. Even queen f3 was an option with the same idea, or even queen h5. Also, all these moves to attack f7 were all good. So yeah, this move, d2, a shocking decision, a shocking blunder by black. And as I say, he keeps fighting, but there is really nothing to do. I think this is pure shock. Sometimes when such mistakes happen, such big mistakes like this one, I think sometimes you're just so surprised that you just keep playing. Of course, this game will be over now in a minute. It's just, these are 2 very strong players, so unless, I think maybe another reason why he's playing on apart from shock, I just realized that white actually only has 25 seconds on the clock, but with the 2-second increment, this is plenty of time, and we see white even giving up the queen just to take all the black pawns, and now black resigns here. So Mr. Kujaj giving the University of Toronto the 1-0 lead, fighting back from a completely losing position. But this is chess. When you fight, sometimes good things happen, and I think Mr. Kujaj really put up a great fight and was rewarded with the full point. For Oleg, it is a devastating loss. Let's see if his teammates can fight back. So on this second board, maybe we will come here a little later. I think this is still looking quite even. So I will go to board 3. So on board 3, the University of Toronto, Oscar with the white pieces playing against Alexei. No, sorry, Oscar is now... yeah, so Oscar is playing for the University of Toronto against Alexei, who is Alexei Kolesnikov from the Adam Smith Business School. And what is going on here? It's also absolute mayhem, but it is absolute mayhem that is just completely winning for white, which means that this is 2-0 for the University of Toronto, and Toronto have also won on the bottom board, so it's 3-0 for the University of Toronto. And this last rook endgame, is that the last game of the round? There is a couple more, I think only 4 other games remaining outside of this one. So they really give us a fighting performance, but it looks like the University of Toronto are going to get a crushing win, probably 3.5 half, and take one step closer to qualify to tomorrow's knockout stages. White has an extra pawn. He is going to try and make some progress, but the pawns are too separated. The pawns are too, I think, too weak to manage to advance them. And every exchange of a pawn is helping black get closer to a draw. Black will take on a2. And as I say, white is going to try for a while longer to win this position, but I don't think he will succeed. Although in these games, I have to say that the times are ticking down, but it is quite an easy defense for black to hold this a draw. So rook g1, trying to get in front of the pawns, but one of the problems is that black can just keep checking, and that king has no safe space. Black can also use his own king to advance, and I think we will see a result here, a draw here, very, very shortly. I think black is going to keep checking, go back to g1, and there is not really any way for white to make progress. King f7, a very nice move. If the rook goes away, we just saw actually in the previous position, the rook went to d8 to attack that pawn, but black went here defending the pawn and attacking the rook. And basically now the players repeated moves because white has no way to hold on to this extra pawn. So a very fighting draw, and not the last game. Gaggy Cave. Gaggy Cave is the one name I will really remember from this event. I think we've seen so many of Gaggy Cave's game. And we see another typical ending. Another typical ending. Rook against knight, which is just a draw. But of course, the player with the back pieces, he's a FIDE master, only chess. He is trying to win it. Also, white has to be careful, especially when this king has been brought to the first rank. It is still a draw, but as I say, white has to be careful. There are some tricks here. There are some tricks for black. Let me just see, how long have they been playing this? So it started on move 65, which means, that white has to defend until move 115. We are only on move 86, so still 30 more moves to go in the defense of this endgame. But I think white knows the technique. I think white is doing a great job and will manage to defend. And that is going to bring us actually to the close already of this sixth round, with only one more match remaining before tomorrow's knockout event. These players, they are playing fast. We are getting closer. We are getting closer to this move 115. We're almost on move 100. They are on move 97. So 18 more moves to defend for white, but white is doing a great job. I don't think... Oh, knight b1. I'm looking at the table base. Knight b1, there was a mate for black, a mate in 9, but it's so difficult. Black had to play rook d3, and the knight has no more squares. Rook d3, and white's only move was king f1 and then rook d1 check. But black missed that opportunity. White gave black an opportunity, but it was missed. And now only 10 moves away from making that draw. I think there was only one moment. White defended so heroically. But this is also chess. You can defend so perfectly for 40 moves and then one slip. But there was only one winning move for black, so a fleeting moment, a fleeting chance, but now 3 moves to go until this game is declared a move by 50 move rule, and this is it. Rook g3 was move 115, and what a fighting draw. I'm going to hand it back over to the studio, over to Oksana and Ivan. And I will see you here in a little bit for the 7th and final round of this round-robin stages of the FIDE Binance Business School Super Cup.
Привет, наш дорогой зритель.
Hello.
Здравствуйте. Снова
Our
здравствуйте в
dearest of
нашей
viewers,
студии.
and hello again.
Мы с
Welcome
нашими
to our
ребятами,
studio, and we have some of our
которые
guys in
участвуют
here.
в
Those who
чемпионате.
are participating in the
Во-первых,
championship. Yep.
давайте представим наших ребят. Алексей Майоров, Юрий
Let's
Мордвин.
introduce them. Alexei Mayorov
Ребята из
and
нашего
Yuri
шахматного
Mordvin.
клуба «Сколково».
They're from our Skolkovo Chess
Алексей
Club.
вообще был основателем
Alexei
шахматного
was the
клуба
founder,
«Сколково».
or is
Да,
the
еще в
founder
шахматы
of
не
the
умел
Skolkovo
играть.
Chess Club when I
Да,
didn't even
и
know how to play
мы
chess. Yes.
вот все вместе активно участвовали в организации
And all of
этого
us
кубка.
together took an
И
active role
ребята
in
играют
making
сейчас
this
за
tournament,
вторую
making this
команду
cup
нашей
possible.
школы.
And the guys are
Перед
currently
последним
representing the
туром как раз
second team
узнаем,
of our
как у
school.
них дела.
And before the last round, let's find out how's everything. Everything's good for now. Sometimes we win, sometimes we don't. But it's the time for us to get ready for the next game. Is that a decisive one? I think we're doomed.
Я иногда не
But
успеваю
we keep
следить
dreaming.
за какими-то
Sometimes I
точными
have
результатами,
no
и
time to
иногда, на
follow
самом деле, когда
your
ты болеешь
precise
за кого-то
outcomes,
очень
and when
сильно,
you root
иногда
for
это
someone, when you
очень хорошо,
support a
потому
team,
что это
it's actually very good
минус
that you don't have any
какие-то
time
волнения,
on your
стресс.
hands, because it
По
is
итогам вчерашнего
definitely less
соревновательного
stressful.
дня наша
By the end of
первая команда,
yesterday's
которую
competition
Joël
day, our
возглавляет,
first team that Joël
в своей группе
Lautier
С
heads
шла на втором
in
месте,
Group
а
C
наша
was
команда вторая
ranking
от
second.
бизнес-школы
And our
Сколково
second team,
шла
Skolkovo
на
Business
четвертом
School,
месте в
team
группе Д.
second was at the
Но
fourth
сегодня
place
мы из
in
двух
Group
туров
D. But today, out of the two
победили
rounds, we
со счетом
won
4-0 в обеих
4-0
турах.
in
Так что
both
есть надежда,
games,
что мы
in
сейчас
both rounds.
возьмем
So there
следующий
is
тур,
a hope
последний, и
that
выйдем в
our
финал.
last round will
Мы
be a
очень верим,
success
будем очень
and we'll
болеть
make it to the
сейчас.
finals. We will really root for you there. We are supporting you. Can you share your impressions? I think the coolest thing here is guys are coming from definitely different parts of the world, various countries. And of course, I follow our first Skolkovo team very closely. I'm following my alma mater, the MIPT, the Moscow FizTech, because they have truly a very strong team. And I think these two are the favorites in the race. The impressions are great. The actual idea itself, I don't remember who came up with that, to organize the tournament in such a way. I think originally the idea was treated somewhat coldly, but then step after step, move after move, it turned out to be a great event. Oksana has left us and she was only doing organizing work. Nothing related to chess. It engulfed her completely and overwhelmed. And although it took so much time to get it agreed, and the rules of the game were agreed in just 2 weeks before the start of the competition, we still managed to unite lots of teams, 32 teams from 14 countries. We're actually on Zoom all the time, and we are conversing between the rounds. And it feels like you're in an action. Everybody's truly engaged and involved. All teams have substitutes and reserves replacing the main players, so that everybody had a chance. Today I am playing just 1 game out of 3 instead of like yesterday where I was playing more. And my impressions are great, and I can see it in the chats. People are really into it, and I see it on Zoom when we have our group calls before the beginning of every match. If someone from the viewers don't know it, to ensure fair play rules are observed before the start of a competition, everybody needs to turn on their Zoom with the video, and they need to start screen sharing. And starting from today, people have been forbidden to use earphones. Now we were playing with Yuri here in the school, but we had to sit down in different rooms. Otherwise, if we don't wear our earphones during the play, we hear the background noise and the feedback loop, and it triggered lots of positive mood, and there's a great desire to organize the next championship here at Skolkovo on the campus. That's a nice idea. Let's give it some thoughts. Yeah, this is something up next. Looking at the success of this tournament here, which is, of course, appeared and came to fruition because of Oksana. Well, originally it was initiated by Yuri. Yes, I was spamming everyone with my mails. Yes, if you're getting mails from someone, that is Yuri. It is him. Actually, everybody got involved, and everybody offered their help. There wasn't enough time for us to get all teams together. We actually had a very little time. It's 1.5 weeks only. And since I'm online, may I express my thought here? May I express my biggest thanks to our friends. Here at Skolkovo, we have a sports team that does yachting, and our yachting team organizes competitions between business schools, also an international one. And if I'm not mistaken, they're doing it year on year, 6 or 7 years. And guys from Skolkovo sailing team got involved and started calling everyone, explaining the rules of the game. They just explained everyone and sold the idea of a competition, and in just 1 week and a half, we managed to get 32 teams on board. Just imagine, everybody might have their own plans, everybody is in different time zones. And although there were difficulties like that, everybody changed their plans and all the teams came together. What is real cool is that our school, as well as other business schools, has an association of alumni, where we have around 3,000 graduates. And we also have our own clubs, and there is a chess club, there is a yacht club, There's an industrial, an e-commerce, and tennis, and even Banya Club or Steam Sauna Club as well. Yeah. And it helps us to unite alumni according to their interests. And it also helps many people to solve a problem, because our chess club had a problem, an issue, how to make sure that teams from other schools can come and join. Other clubs came in and offered their helping hand. And if somebody else will need our help in the future, for example, if the yachting competition will need to have people from schools we've got today, we will be able to come and offer our hand. Also, there's another neighboring club called Alumn. It's originally a Skolkovo club, but it actually has different people on it. It unites various international schools, and through their channels, we send the message across, and it was well received, so we're very thankful to the guys from Alumn. I'm trying to calm down Yuri, because Yuri is wary of time. We still have 5 more minutes before the round. Why preliminary 5 minutes before the round? Because there is a technical issue. Each player needs to be connected to each player, and it doesn't happen synchronously. It takes some time. Can I ask you my standard question, guys, since we've got this 5 minutes? What is chess for you, Yuri? I think I'm doing I've been doing chess since my early life, and it's the part of my life. I'm sorry for repeating myself, and I'm also believing that this is a great networking opportunity, because it's not just Skolkovo that brings us here, but chess. And when you got events organized between schools, it's a perfect venue to find new connections, to get out of Russia, to get familiar with someone that shares your hobby. It's an amazing opportunity. I have a different story to tell. For me, chess is an opportunity to train your logic and an opportunity to probe the ground. I realized that most of your mistakes in life happen because you can't really think several steps ahead. You are lacking the foresight. Well, but the only thing I did in my life, I organized the chess club, and I played only as a child. I've never played professionally before, but in the end of last year, when rehabilitating after COVID, I started playing chess every day. You started playing chess to rehabilitate. Yes. Because the consequence of having a COVID is your brain sometimes just switches off. And I was training myself doing chess every day. And in the first 5 months, I think, I managed to grow my rating by 1,000 points, moving from 0 to the first pre-candidate title. And in a couple of weeks, I'll be able to even compete for the candidate title. And you can really grow fast in chess. It takes a very short period of time. You don't really need to have some boring trainings and things like that. I think that's the biggest problem. You can really fast and quick, and what's most important, with pleasure, get to big heights. Yeah, we were all... They lied to us in the childhood. No, they didn't lie to you in the childhood. They just wanted to put as many combinations in your brain as possible. But if you understand a couple of tactics you've got, actually there are not so many pieces on the table, not so many. We need to let Yuri go. I understand that you're pretty nervous and you need to get going. Yuri, have a great luck. Now, everybody who's watching our broadcast now live, I call on you to start doing chess, because it's very positive and useful for your brain, and it is not boring. How often do you do it? Every day, 2 hours. That's a lot of time, isn't it? That's a lot of time, but it's like in every sport, because it allows you to be more disciplined. Being disciplined is good. And also what I noted is that chess produces a great effect. Previously, I was far away from chess, but I was an intellectual, I might even call myself, with all the consequences of being an intellectual. I have lots of papers written across different disciplines. But actually, in business, you require agility. And when you're thinking too much, when you're overthinking stuff, you are lacking agility. When your brain is, I don't know, used to thinking, it does not have any freedom. And when your brain knows that every evening there's going to be chess, still my brain stopped bothering me. Throughout the day, I'm absolutely free in my head. It means that chess takes a lot of thinking away from you, right? So the brain doesn't take away that energy from you during the day. Yeah, let me rephrase that. There is a term called lifelong learning, when you learn for the rest of your life, and here's chess-long learning. Do chess throughout your life, exactly. And also chess is a networking, and it's not just a networking, it's a real cool networking. We met Oksana because of chess, when she got enrolled to a business school, and I graduated. Already, I also started by making contact with Yuri Shipov, which I believe is the best commentator in Russia. Those of you who are not watching his broadcasts, I truly recommend you do that. He's telling the chess story in such a way that it becomes interesting for both the professionals, and it is absolutely clear for people with zero experience. And it's thanks to him that I started doing chess. He inspired the desire to do more of it in me. And then, of course, Oksana brought it to a new level, and I'm competing now in the World Championship. See, it's cool. I think it's real cool. And I'm very happy that chess popularity is becoming ever so bigger. That's it from me. Thank you so very much, and thanks for coming in and telling us your story. And thanks for telling the story of our club and sharing your impressions with us. Time's up, and we need to get going very soon. And now we will be observing the final, 7th round, which will be one of the most intense for a lot of participants, because some are going neck to neck, and it is not yet clear who will be competing in the knockout round. And again, all of you out there at the chessboards, have a great play, a great game, and make it all fun. We actually coined a new term here. Chess is networking. We actually heard about networking already. Chess is about searching for friends, and also chess is discipline. That's real cool. Of course, chess is discipline, and since discipline dictates us, we move to Fiona. Fiona, it's over to you. The ball is on your side. Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome back for the 7th and final round, at least of this round robin qualifying stages of the FIDE Binance Super, now I got it wrong, the Business School Super Cup. It is the last round. Actually, they have just started playing the games 1 minute ago. And I thought for this final round, I want to look at a game, at a friend of mine who's playing the game here. It is John Oyeyemi Favole from Nigeria, but in this tournament, he represents the Quantic School of Business and Technology from the US. They are playing this match against the Khulna University Management and Business from Bangladesh. This is Group A. We haven't seen so much of Group A, so I thought this is the match that we are going to follow for this round. And then after the round, well, Oxana and Ivan, they will have all the information, who qualified, who will we have back tomorrow, who will we have back tomorrow in the knockouts. Right now in this group, probably for either teams, it is looking difficult, although the Khulna University, with a big win, they could still have some small hopes of qualifying. But let's have a look at what is going on in this game. So John playing with the white pieces. The first thing I notice, I like his center, I like his central pawns. I also like this bishop. Right now the bishop from G2 is not doing so much, but this bishop is looking down at the knight. So if black recaptures, I think black has to recapture, because a piece was just exchanged here on b6. I think the reason that black is taking some time to think about it is that he is suddenly worried, is there going to be some d5, a discovery move? The bishop would suddenly be looking at the queen. So I think black is thinking, is this going to be a problem? But anyway, even if it is a problem, there is no choice. If black does not recapture, he will just simply lose a piece. Mr. Kusha is actually in the chat. I don't know if he's in the chat on Twitch. I don't know if he's not playing this last round. At least I don't see him. There's so many names. But Mr. Kusha, you're actually one of the players, I think, whose games I've seen the most often. I think, wasn't Mr. Kusha is the one who just turned around this lost position in the previous round, I believe, for the University of Toronto, who have apparently qualified. So congratulations to the University of Toronto and Mr. Kusha, some really, really exciting games of yours we saw throughout yesterday and today. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of your games tomorrow. Mr. Kusha is saying he's sitting out to give a chance to others because qualification is ensured. And also, not just to give a chance to others, but I'm sure also to get a rest before tomorrow, when the fight will continue for the University of Toronto. I think Group C was one of the toughest groups with the Skolkovo A team, also the Adam Smith Business Schools and a few others. So congratulations one more time to the University of Toronto for qualifying to the knockout stages. Meanwhile, what happened here? I wasn't paying attention for a couple of moves. Black did recapture the piece on b6. As I said, there was really no choice. But white decided not to go for d5. It was a discovery, but it didn't really achieve much because those two pawns were defended. And now black is trying to do something active. Looking at this bishop, white says, I don't want to exchange this bishop. I think this bishop is more important than your knight, and puts the bishop to f4. However, that move gave up the defense of the pawn on d4, which was captured by black. Now the question is white going to get enough activity in return for the pawn? At least there is nothing immediate. I don't think white gets any immediate compensation or any, any immediate counterplay or any immediate material back, but I do think white has some long-term compensation. I'm not sure if this was planned when white played bishop f2 quite fast. I don't know if white realized, I guess John realized this pawn was hanging, but now he's down a pawn and he's going to have to create some counterplay or to find some compensation. I think the white pieces are beautifully placed, but still, a pawn is a pawn, as they say. I don't know, is John going to try and bring a rook to c1? This looks like a natural move. Maybe we will see something like bishop e3 and target this square on b6. But those are all slow plans. Black, on the other hand, having said that, black still has this big question to solve. We talked yesterday a bit about this bishop on c8, which is often a problem in the French opening. This was not a French, but still this problem remains the same with the bishop on c8. Where is that bishop going to go? Black would love to probably play either b6, maybe b5, maybe bring the bishop to b7, because on d7 it is hard to see a future for that bishop for now. The only plan would be after bishop d7 to play some c5 and bring the bishop here, but I'm not sure. I think this plan takes a bit too long, and John is going for exactly the plan that I was talking about. He played bishop e3, and after queen e5, knight a4, targeting the square on b6. b5 was played, and now b5 actually gives up the control of this square, although that square was controlled 2 times already, and white jumps into c5. And black decides, Sanjoy, we've seen some of his games yesterday as well, decides to give up the bishop pair, and suddenly, within just a few moves, I think that John suddenly has a lot more compensation here than he did a few moves back. By the way, the board 3 of this match, John's teammate from the Quantic School of Business and Technology, has just won their game, so they are leading 1-0 right now. I was just talking about the compensation here. Suddenly, white has the bishop pair, black does not, and these bishops are suddenly looking a lot stronger. There's only now 1 pawn in the way of this bishop freeing up, and black still has this problem piece on c8. This bishop on c5 is also an absolute beast, controlling a lot of squares on the board, and rook c1. Another problem point for black is the pawn on c6, which is becoming a big weakness. I guess black will put the bishop to b7 eventually, but it's going to be a very passive defensive effort for black. Having said that, black is up a pawn, so the onus is still on white to show something here. But a very balanced fight, this one, on the top board of this match. I will quickly jump around. So what did I say? The Quantic School from the US, they are leading right now 1-0 right now. I will quickly go to board 2. So on board 2, they are playing with the black pieces. Oof, and this is looking painful for white. Even before I counted the material, okay, I'm done counting the material. Wow, what a move. The material was even, but look at this move, bishop c1. And that queen is trapped. It cannot take because the knight is defending. This square is covered by the knight. This square is also covered by the knight. This square is covered by the pawn. So the queen was just lost. White is trying some desperado, but black is not even allowing. Actually, it was a nice trick. In fact, it was a very nice trick, b6. If black were to take the queen after b takes a7, it looks at first like we cannot stop this pawn, but even in that position, it would still win for black, because queen a4, but it's not an easy move to see from a distance, would stop the a pawn. But black says, well, I'm just going to take your pawn, and you still cannot save your queen. Now takes the queen, and this position is, of course, completely winning for the player with the black pieces, Khvorov, who is going to make it 2-0 for the Quantic School of Business and Technology. And finally, on board 4, so there they are also playing with the black pieces. This is also a much more even position, but an extra pawn for black. So it's really looking, this match is looking great for the team from the US. I will jump back to board 1. Let's see, what did we miss here since we left? So bishop went to b7, and now e5 was played. Open up this bishop, but on the other hand, it gives away this d5 square, which is a big square. Then queen goes over to e2, and a5 is played. Black wants to open that a file for the rook to finally get some active play. White plays a3, and now the a file is open, and immediately Black is looking to double the rook on that file. White counters with rook d4, defending the pawn on b4, rook e8, bishop e4, and rook a1. We talked about this quite a bit. When you up material, in general, you want to exchange material. Black is still up the pawn, but on the other hand, the bishop pair is still looking pretty powerful. Maybe we will see white drop back the bishop, maybe launch an attack, create some threats against the black king, but a very interesting position this. I see Mr. Kusha is asking, is the winner of Group C facing the second place of Group D? Let me have a look if I can answer that real quick, because I had seen the regulations. So the regulations just say Team 1 versus Team 8, Team 2 versus Team 7. So I don't know how. I am not informed, but I'm sure maybe Oksana and Ivan will address this when we go back to the studio after this round is over. And John is doing exactly what I was thinking he might do. Bishop has gone back to c2, and now the queen is looking to go in front of the bishop, creating a bishop and queen battery, and looking to come into h7. The problem is, if black plays a move to defend against that, well, first it's black to move, but if black plays g6 or anything, any move to stop the queen from coming in will weaken black's position further. John is launching an all-out attack now. Rook g1, bringing one more attacking piece. The rook is looking down at the king. In the future, maybe the queen will go here, but also maybe it will go to a square like d2. Oops, d2, where it will look at h6. I have to say, I would be pretty scared here as black. I'm not saying black is lost to anything like that. Also remember, black is up a pawn, but it looks scary. So black is trying to bring this knight either to f5 or to g6, and black is defending for now. But is rook g6 a move? Rook g6 looks very tempting. One of the problems, this king is very lonely on g8. The knight on g6 is the only defender of the king. Can we just eliminate it? I think John is going to take some time here and to consider his options. Can he take that knight? After rook takes, if pawn takes, queen takes, there is a mate threat here. There is also another big threat here. I think rook g6 looks very strong, but we will see. Will John go for it? I wouldn't be surprised, even if it takes, maybe he will take up to a minute here in this position. When you give up the exchange like that, on the other hand, you take the knight and you win a pawn as well. So in terms of points, you're only giving up 1 point. So I think we will see rook takes g6 be played in this game. And there he goes, rook takes g6, and I think this is just a crushing blow. Black has to recapture, but after queen takes g6, which will be played, I'm not sure how do you cover all the threats that white has. And now we see the power of this bishop pair, which is just, oh, that is checkmate on the board. It all happened so quickly. So after rook takes, f takes, queen takes, rook f3 was played to defend. Well, and actually there was two. This was also, I was confused for a second because John now played queen h7. Going for a touch of class, the bishop checkmate. The easier checkmate, which was also working, of course, was queen e8, rook f8, and queen takes, but I like it. We haven't seen, I don't think we've seen any bishop checkmates, so kudos to John, who gives his team a 2-0 lead, and what a game for this last round today. This was really exciting stuff. This one here is the game where white was fighting a queen down, but it is now really over. White managed to at least get this king out of, where is this school? So we are looking at the match between the Quantic School of Business and Technology from the US and between, now I've lost it, give me 1 second, and the Khulna University from Bangladesh. So those are the two teams that we're looking at right now. So rook takes b7. White is still fighting, but this king is not going to survive much longer. Here comes the final assault on the king. h3, h2, and mate is coming. Queen f1 is mate. Mate genickt 3-0 for the Quantic School of Business and Technology. And on board 4, they have not played so many moves. We're only on move 24 here. But this match is over 3-0. So let's maybe move on from here. Let's see, did Oxana play? Could she have played? No, she didn't play. Lautier has won his game. I think I'm going to move on. Maybe we will come back here a little bit later. Let's see if we can find something more exciting. Well, this is very exciting, but it is also almost over. This king looks like it's about to get checkmated. So let's stay here and see if white can wrap up. By the way, this match was so close that there was only a handful of games remain. So we're nearing the end of this round robin qualifying phase. But once again, we've seen some really exciting games. Black is thinking, excuse me, Black is thinking where to go with the king. There's only 2 squares, g7 or h7, but both of them are going to lead to checkmate very soon. Very nice move. Rook takes f7, discovery check, opening up that bishop from b2, and no matter where the king goes, I think the queen will probably join the game, and maybe via h5 with a mate threat. On h8, I guess this is the move that will be played here, but of course a lot of moves are winning. Queen d4 also looks good with the same idea of getting to h8, and this game should be over momentarily. Only 5 games remain after this one. Incredible how fast this last round went by. Let's see, let's just stick around until white makes up his or her mind. Where are they going to go? They just take on e7. Wow, but now black has an extra piece. There is still a mate threat here. But what will white do if black just captures that pawn and creates an escape square for the king? I think we might see a huge turnaround here. Bishop takes, the same idea. After queen h8, it's not a mate any longer because the king is going to run. And I think white missed a huge chance here. I think rook takes e7 was really not a good move. I think queen h5 or queen d4, both moves with the intention of coming to h8, were very close to game over, but rook takes e7, maybe missing the fact that black can capture this pawn. These are the Lichess rapid ratings, yes, that you can see for these players. It's hard for me because I only see the Lichess handles. It's hard for me to know whose game we're actually looking at, so I cannot check what their real ratings are. But since they have played, we don't know, have they played on Lichess before this event? If not, they have played at least 6 games, or maybe 4 or 5 games, if they sat out a game. But I think the ratings are probably at least give some indication. I think in the first, second, third round it was tougher, but now I think it is some kind of indication. Oh my goodness. And I think bishop f7, and what is white going to do? This bishop will fall. I think bishop f7 is just game over. Queen f7 probably also good enough. Oh my goodness, I think there were probably, even after white took on e7, I think there were still some chances for perpetual, but while I was talking about the Lichess ratings, things have gone completely wrong for black, but black has run out of, no, the time has jumped. Maybe we lost connection, or there was some, I think the times have been a little bit jumpy. But this is now just an extra piece. It's just an extra piece for black. Of course, these two pawns are always going to cause a bit of a headache. They are going to cause a headache. But black has his own passed pawn, and that pawn is going to run quickly. I don't know if I would have exchanged queens. I don't know if I would have exchanged queens. What a game. There's so many back and forths here. So it is an extra piece still, but white has these two pawns. And it's not so easy. I mean, how do you make progress? Also, this bishop here is basically a big pawn. The problem is that bishop cannot move, otherwise this pawn drops. And white is simply going to wait on these two squares, I think. And I think this is going to be a draw. I don't think there's any way to make progress here. What a crazy, crazy game. Is this the last game of the event? It is the last game. It is the last game. Everything else has finished. A5. Ooh, but now, oh my, I think this endgame was really tough to defend actually. Now this pawn drops. I think A5 was probably not ideal, but it's so hard to say. I think white had to do what I was saying, and then black is just in zugzwang. The problem after A5, there is this move, which earlier, the problem is you take and take here, but then you get this pawn break, which is not possible any longer now. And now it looks like black is going to win this game again. Oh my goodness, black is going, everything is going to fall. All the white pawns are going to fall. And what a heartbreak for white, who had a completely winning position. But such is chess. What a game to end this on. And just like that, all games in this round are over. I cannot believe how quickly this round went by. And what a fighting round as well. I'm counting, as always, I'm counting the draws. There was only one single draw in this round out of the 56 games that we have in the system. Wow, we saw some really, really fighting chess, some big ups and downs. Let me see if the results have been updated on the chess results yet, although even they have been updated. I think I will not reveal it. I will leave that to Oxana and Ivan to tell you who has qualified. But I can already tell you, some teams from India have qualified, some teams from Russia, some teams from Canada, and that's all. So we will see. We started with schools representing 12 different countries. Tomorrow we will be down to just 3, but I have to say it was an absolute pleasure commentating on these knockout stages. We saw so many interesting games, so much fighting chess. In a minute I will hand back over to the studio. But I would like to thank all the participants. Many of them will not be playing anymore tomorrow, but it was such a pleasure seeing all the games and to see so many different schools from so many countries all over the globe taking part. Tomorrow we will be down to only 8 teams battling it out for the title. It will start at the same time. I'm looking forward already to being back tomorrow commentating on the knockout finals. I'm also seeing on chess results, it is saying the results are provisional and will be finalized after the fair play check. I'm sure there is no issues. I'm pretty sure this is one of the events where everyone will have played in the spirit of the game. So I'm fairly certain those results will stand. But as I said, if you would like to To be sure, you can head on over to chess results yourself, see the results there. If you would like to replay any of the games today, because in every round there's so many games going on at the same time that it's hard for me to keep an eye on everything, but you can replay all the games by yourselves by going to the Lichess broadcast page and finding the FIDE Binance Business Schools Super Cup. All the games that have been played are there. You can also replay games from previous rounds. And yeah, tomorrow we will find out who is going to win this event. It's going to be very, very interesting. I will remind you one more time of the format. Tomorrow we will have knockout matches. So in the quarterfinals, we will have 4 matches going on at the same time, then the semis, then the finals. If a match is tied, there will be a blitz, and if it's still tied, 2 players will be sent to play Armageddon. More about that tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. Back to you, Oksana, Ivan, in the studio, and I will see you all tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
So we're back in our studio, where we already started discussing all the results and the outcomes of the game with Ivan here. We are still waiting our Zambia team to join, and it might take some time, but before we do that, we'll be able to renew the results. The 7th round has finished. 7th round of the round-robin competition has finished, and the successful teams that managed to go through all those rounds and top them will be fighting for the champion title at the FIDE Binance Business School Super Cup. And I will now refresh my results. It might be that the results in the system are not refreshed automatically, so I need to first find out whether all the results are new. What I know for sure is that our first team in Skolkovo passed it on to the finals, but the second team unfortunately didn't make it. Yes, we were talking to them during the break, and they are now finishing 3rd in the group, as far as I remember. Now, what's going to be faster? Renewing my results or connecting to the captain of Zambia team? Let's find this out. Yes, the results are refreshed. We have Shriram College of Commerce. If I remember that correctly, it's an Indian team. This system doesn't show any flags, and when it doesn't show flags, it's hard to me to remember which country they're from. Number 2 is Finance University and the government. Congratulations to both teams, and now moving on to Group B. Finishing first, MIPT Business School, Moscow FizTech, and finishing second, MGIMO. Both teams are from Russia. Congratulations to you, my deepest respect. Moving on to the results in Group C. Finishing first is the University of Toronto, which is Canada. Yes, and finishing second is the Moscow School of Management 1, headed by Joel. Exactly. Joel Lautier is at the head of the team. Both teams managed to pile the same number of match points, but yeah, they played the same number of ties and the same number of games. They have the same number of games as wins and the same number of games as ties, but there's only a couple of games where they had a little bit of difference. In Group D, let's find out who is finishing in Group D. Our university from Perm, and Ranefa is finishing second. 2 Russian teams again? Yes. We can count how many countries we've got now. In Group D, we got both teams from Russia. Group C has a Canadian team and a Russian team on it. Group B, again, both teams are Russian. And there was India somewhere. Yes, there was. In Group A. And we find that the Mulungusha University is finishing third. They're finishing third. Mulungusha didn't play well this recent match. I was sure that, yes, I knew that the Zambian team, until the very last moment in time, held on to the second place, and I was hoping to see them in the playoff, but they will not be doing that. Do we have a captain? Do we have the captain? Maybe he played his final game not so well. Yes. I'm pretty sure he's saddened, but I am told that the captain goes to Zoom, because in Zambia, you know, it's not always possible to find a computer at hand or a telephone at hand, but I hope that we will be able to converse with the African team captain. I am impressed by how willing the participants to play, how much they love chess, yes, and how they are open to get connected, to talk to us about themselves and the game, to talk to our studio before this event. I didn't know that people can be so crazy about chess. Well, because the chess players are very talkative. I never knew that. It was a myth for me that chess players are talkative folk. And for some, chess is a networking opportunity and a search for friends. How would you represent a typical chess player? If somebody told you, imagine a chess player, how would you describe him or her? Well, until today, how would you have described? Well, first, the surname, the last name has to finish with man. It's a joke, of course. But, of course, the majority of chess players would have had a Russian background for me. For some reason, I don't know why. And also chess, for me, is closely associated with mathematics. There are lots of myths around chess. I'm trying to debunk the following myth, that chess is purely mathematics. Yes, I do see that. That actually chess is somewhere between creativity and sports. And it would be very nice to see where, in which parts of business, chess players find themselves. We heard about one person talking about AI. We heard about Joel doing consulting, financial consulting. What else? I also know a lot of chess commentators. Actually, recently there are lots of chess commentators and streamers, and they do it on their own channels. So the chess players, they like creating content, and they are commentating on the tournaments. Fiona was commentating our tournament, and Anastasiya was also with us. Karlovich, you're also playing chess, do you? What do you do apart from chess? What do I do? I left chess. I had a dream to become a sports commentator, but I had to reorientate myself. Originally, I started writing about chess. Then I was doing photojournalism about chess. I was doing articles about chess. Then I studied at the journalist department, and then I started doing production. Originally, I studied at the television department. When I was invited to shoot a documentary about chess, I was I met an advertising team, and I realized that TV and advertising are two completely different groups of people, and I decided to do more of advertising, and I'm going this way towards cinema, towards feature films. What are you doing now? We're doing various productions, various advertising, movies and reels for various companies. Yes, I became a more creative person. But thanks to the school, I came back to chess. And when I came to study here at a program, every time students come to get enrolled in the school, we are often being asked, what is your pain? What do you want to solve? I remember you getting enrolled in the program. Yes. And I won the grant program, and I presented my feature film, which plot is based on the real chess play, on the real chess plot. But how, thanks to school, did you come back to chess? I didn't quite get that story, because we only have a club. Well, that's how I came back to chess. So the club found that spark within you. Yes, I started questioning everything I did before it. I started reflecting mostly, and I realized that chess do play an important role in my life. I also decided to help my mother to develop chess schools for kids, and slowly and gradually I started getting connected with various chess projects, and also thanks to the Skolkovo Chess Club, we organized various tournaments and cups, both within the school and in between. And that's how I made it back to chess.
Ну вот если мы представляем, что я хочу отдать ребенка заниматься шахматами.
Imagine I want to give my child to study chess. How much time does he or she need to spend on a weekly basis, minimum, to raise to a certain level? I don't really want him or her to become a professional player, but just do chess. Is there an entry barrier to it? Previously, when I started doing chess in the beginning of the 90s, we had lots of sports schools. And you would enroll people into sports schools starting from the age of 7 and 8. It was usually believed that if a kid starts doing that earlier, he will be up to no good, so to speak. But after some time, there was a boom somewhere in the area of 2000s, and everybody started doing chess again. And preschool boys and girls are now doing chess very well, and now it is believed that 5 years is the most comfortable age to start your chess path. Some want to do it even earlier, at 3.5 and 4 years. I heard about someone starting at 2. Well, yes, it's my father who did it, but it's a family story. I'm always telling that professional chess players, well, not everybody needs that life choice, because if you want to achieve great success, you need to do chess every day, 4 to 6 hours. And when you're doing this year on year, you can't always say that the efforts you put in will be able to produce a great result on the output, so you have to choose. And many people already at the age of 14 or 15 need to make a choice. Do they really want to continue spending that much time waiting and hoping for a great result, or do they want to do something different? And many of our students, many of our graduates in the school and in our chess club, they used to play back in their childhood, and they played on a serious level, but then they went to university, they got a degree, made a career,
Хорошо, по-другому спрошу.
and
Вот
so on
я,
and so
мне
forth.
32 года, я хочу
May I ask,
заниматься
imagine
шахматами
I'm
на любительском
23 and I
уровне.
want to do chess on an
3 раза
amateur
в
level,
неделю по
3 times a
полтора
week,
часа достаточно будет?
an hour and a half. Will that be enough? Of course,
Можно.
will definitely be enough. It's quite a lot. You know, usually children train 2 times a week. When you are still at level 0, of course, you will have to spend a lot of time to get to a basic level. So 2 times a week, 1 hour each. If you're starting at the age of 5, it's a very comfortable format. If you want to get to highest achievements, you need to spend more time. Not just a little bit more time, but actually a lot of more time. If you're an adult and you want to start doing chess, you need to select the format which you find most suitable, what fits you best, an individual coaching or group trainings. Adults prefer individual coaching rather than group trainings. Alexei Mayorov, who we had here in our studio during the break, in the last year, I think he spent an hour or 2 in certain days at certain time to become better in this game, and now he's real strong and he's playing very actively, supporting the team. He's playing for our team and he's also playing in various other tournaments. So the first thing you should do is answer yourself a question: what do you want to achieve? Do you want to get some quick wins? Do you want to get some quick results? Do you really want to start doing a lot? But doing a lot and might even induce harm. You shouldn't be doing harm to yourself. You should be doing it in a comfortable pace. Yes, so that the quantity transformed into quality. Well, for quantity to transform to quality, you need to be self-disciplined and you need to start doing it regularly, because if you do a lot first and then you forget and there's a pause and a break in your trainings, you will go down. Like Vladimir Kramnik told us and Joel Lautier, a certain level will remain with you, but you always have to be aware, you have to be acute, you have to be trained. If you want to play somewhere and show a good level, you have to be trained. All right, let me ask now whether we're getting any updates and whether we are successful to connect with Zambia. It seems like this process is not as easy as it might seem, getting connected from different parts of the world. What's your impressions, Vanya, about today? What new have you learned?
Я сейчас сижу и почему-то вспомнил сериал
I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking about the Queen's Gambit TV series, and I remember this amazing frame when, and this amazing scene when chess was played in the streets of Moscow. I am interested. I am frankly interested, because it turns out that chess is somewhat closer to me than I thought. It turns out to be not as complex to me as I thought, especially after what Alexei said. Alexei explained to us that actually playing chess is not as hard as it might seem. Many people think that it's a hard game, but you can start with lower levels if you wish, easier levels. And I really liked how our guys told about the fact that everybody is inspired. I think this is really cool. I also think that it is really cool when people are so inspired, when they're so ardent. Their theory, if they find enough, well, time and they find efforts in them, force in them to go out and play. But tomorrow is the most interesting day, yes. This is a knockout phase, this is a real fight, and it shouldn't be turning to just good. It's a competition, and we really want to have a sensible and a healthy competition. Tomorrow is going to be a competition, and tomorrow we will try to connect to different teams who were knocked out. We would like to know what are their impressions, and we'll try to get our Zambian friends connected. The captain of the team writes to me, yeah, he managed to get connected. He managed to get connected to us. Hooray, hooray, we have a happy broadcast right now. We have a connection. Do you know where Zambia is? Because I will tell you frankly, I've been watching specifically where Zambia is, and Yandex provided me with beautiful pictures of Zambia, and I really wanted to go there and try it. Where is that? It's in the east of Africa. East of Africa. Yeah. Somewhere in the center. Hello, hello, Kusanta. Can you hear us?
Мы приветствуем.
Здравствуйте.
Ура,
привет,
ура, мы очень
привет.
рады,
Мы очень рады тебя видеть в эфире.
We are very happy to see you. Happy to see you online. Because now our day is coming to an end, and we've been waiting for you. What are your impressions? У меня здесь перевод на английский не очень работает. Сейчас, секунду.
Hello.
Okay.
Здравствуйте.
Okay, now
Can
I
you hear us?
can get
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Так, теперь слышу.
I can
Отлично.
hear you.
Мы
Вы
очень...
меня слышите?
Да, мы слышим.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you very well. We're happy to see you. My name is Ivan, and here's Oksana. Happy to see you. What are your impressions about the cup?
The cup was actually good. I enjoyed my games, and so did the teammates, even though we didn't qualify. I'm happy that we had the
Кубок был
chance to
замечательный, и я дико рад, что у нас есть
And
возможность
so-
в нем
And
участвовать.
I'm looking forward to playing tournaments like this. I thank the organizers for
И мы
organizing the
надеемся,
tournament.
что такая возможность
that's all I
появится
can say.
еще раз
Thank you.
поучаствовать. Огромное спасибо организаторам, спасибо, что пригласили нас.
Класс.
Я вижу, что все-таки
Amazing.
у вас
I see
сегодня
that you
вот шла
had
борьба вот прямо
Today,
до
a very
последнего
tough
за
fight
выход в
until
плей-офф,
the
но, к
very last
сожалению, я
minute.
вижу результаты,
You
что
wanted
вы
to go to
оказались
the
на
playoff,
третьем
but
месте и в плей-офф не
unfortunately,
выходите.
I
Всё
see from the
верно?
results that you are at third place and you're not making it to the playoff. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's very much correct.
Да, это правильно.
Угу.
I see.
Кусанта,
Кусанта.
скажи, пожалуйста, с кем была последняя
Tell me,
игра?
who
Кем
was
была
the last
последняя
game
доска?
with, the last
это
board?
был? Какая
Who you
страна, какой
played
представитель?
against? Which country?
I'm not even so sure the guy played in the last round.
Я
I
даже не
was
помню, с кем
rushing
мы
from
играли.
there and there
По-моему,
because I
кто-то из
didn't really
России.
have the means to
У
use to
нас же
place. I
там нет
just
имен, у
for
нас же
someone
там
else's
нет
phone in order to play. So
флагов. Я
it
просто
was
знаю,
very
что мы с кем-то
confusing at that
играли,
time. I
и
didn't
играли
know
они
who
очень
I was playing. I
хорошо.
was just playing.
А
Мы просто концентрировались на игре.
какую бизнес-школу вы представляете?
Which business school do you represent?
Mulungushi University here in Zambia.
Mulungushi University.
Угу.
Расскажите, пожалуйста, о
Can
своей
you tell
команде.
more about your
Что у вас
team?
за команда?
Is your team
да, может быть,
good?
факультетах,
Who
программах
played? Who
учится? Как вы
studies
вообще
where?
узнали
Which
о
programs
нашем
do you
кубке?
study? And
И
how
как
can
вы
you?
собрали
How did you
команду?
get to know about our cup? And how you collected and assembled the team?
Actually, I knew about the captain of someone, the former captain at our university, that's Mr. Musa Limomo.
Господин Муса
He
Шалимова
informed me
нас с этим
about the
познакомил.
tournament,
Наши
and
коллеги
then
из
that's how I
университета
just said
рассказали
that
о турнаменте,
I could
рассказали
be
о турнире.
captain. I assembled my friends
Попросили
who I knew
меня
could
стать
play chess
капитаном, я свою команду собрал, также
from
из
different
коллег
levels, and
и
that's how I put them
представителей
together.
университета с разных
We do
департаментов,
participate,
с
have
разных
fun in the
факультетов.
tournament, get to play with people around the world. enjoy our games even if
Мы часто
it
играем
wasn't that
с
good for us. It
иностранными
makes it good to play,
коллегами,
and we
делаем
enjoy
это
playing
посредством
everywhere.
онлайн-платформ, и нам было очень приятно поучаствовать и в вашей игре в том числе. I think we can ask one of the most important questions to the guest. Yes, our proprietary question. Kusanta, can you please tell us what's chess for you?
Actually, chess is something very big for me. When I was actually in high school,
Шахматы — это что-то большое, что-то
I
грандиозное.
actually missed
Когда
a lot
я
of classes just to play chess.
еще учился в
I
старших
really
классах
love the
школы,
game
много
to the extent
пропускал
where
уроков и играл
I
в шахматы.
feel that it's actually a part of me.
Я
And
вообще чувствовал, что они
playing chess
становятся
is
частью
one
меня.
of my heart's greatest desires.
На самом деле, это
So
желание,
far,
которое меня не оставило
I just
еще с
think that
детства, я
chess
имею
is
в виду
the best
желание
game I've
игры.
ever
Мне
come
кажется,
across,
что
and
шахматы — это, в
I
принципе,
really
лучшая
love the
игра,
game.
которая когда-либо была придумана человечеством, и мне она очень нравится.
Чем именно вам так нравится шахматы?
Why do you like it
Что
so
вас в
much,
них
you think?
завораживает,
What
привлекает? Я чувствую
makes
прям
you
какое-то ощущение
inspired by chess? Because I
очень
feel it
волшебное
coming
вокруг
through
шахмат. Почему? Что именно так
the TV, that
завораживает?
something's magical about the chess. What makes it so magical for you?
Like I heard one person say, "What's magical about chess is that feeling of getting to crush your opponent's mind."
Я не знаю, мне просто каждый раз, когда я вспоминаю об этом или думаю об игре, у меня сразу улыбка появляется.
Класс. А
Amazing.
какими качествами должен обладать
Which qualities do you think
классный шахматный игрок?
should a good chess player have?
Гроссмейстер,
A
игрок какого уровня,
grandmaster
какими качествами?
or any level player? Which qualities?
The best quality one I feel can possess is having a good character, maintaining good relationships.
Я думаю, что
with the people
лучшее
around you,
качество — это
so that
все-таки
those
характер,
people
сила
can help you
характера и
push forward,
умение
because
поддерживать отношения,
not even
умение
Carlsen
их
is there
сохранять.
alone. He had
Потому что ты же не
people
один
who
за
have
доской.
supported
На
him.
самом деле тебя всегда кто-то
And I feel that
поддерживает. Не
the
только
best
секунданты,
thing that
но
one
и
have is a
твои
good
сокомандники.
personality,
И поэтому
good
хорошая команда — это
character that
уже
others can look up to.
большая часть успеха.
То есть отношения, люди
So relationship,
и
character,
шахматы для
people,
вас
and
это,
chess for you is,
я так понял, это
as far
какая-то
as
страсть
understood,
жизни.
chess for you is a part of
это
your
то,
life,
ради чего вы
right? It's a
прогуливали
passion in your
уроки
life.
в
It's something
школе
for
ради
which you
шахмат.
skipped your
Значит, это
classes in
страсть,
the high
значит,
school,
у
right?
вас
So
от
it's a
них
passion. It means that it makes you
просто
tick, so to speak.
не отводить никак, и это будет всегда с вами.
And
чувствую
it will always be with you, right? Точно так.
А какой, кстати, самый сильный шахматист Замбии?
What's the strongest Zambian chess player? Do you know?
So far, our strongest player is yes, he's the strongest player so far. He's very so that's what I can say right now.
К сожалению, очень сильно пропадает звук и ничего не слышно. Приношу свои извинения.
Ну ничего страшного.
Плохо слышали.
Да.
Кусанте, с кем, если слышите меня, с кем
Kusanta,
из
if you can
известных
hear us,
шахматистов, вообще
with
всех, с
the
кем из тех
famous chess
шахматистов вы
players,
знаете,
out
вы
of the
бы
chess
хотели
players you
сыграть
know,
партию,
who do you
а
want
может
to
быть,
play
даже
with out of the famous chess players? Or maybe two? Who do you want to play a game or two?
Of course, he's
Конечно, Каспаров. Конечно. Мне кажется, он один из лучших.
Конечно, Каспаров. Ну, с нашим уровнем связей, мне
Well,
кажется, что
with
если
that
вы
level
будете
of
с нами, будете
connection,
играть на наших
If
турнирах,
you're gonna stay at
учитывая, что
our
рядом со
tournaments
мной
and if you will
Оксана, которая
continue playing,
организовала все это
considering that next to
мероприятие,
us
я
we have
думаю, мы однажды
Oksana
вам
who
это
organized
сможем
this
организовать.
event
Я бы
once,
хотел,
I'm
чтобы
pretty sure we'll be able to
произошло, чтобы
organize it.
несколько лет
And I hope that in a
участники
couple of years, the participants of Binance Business School Super Cup will have an opportunity to play with the greatest grandmasters, because chess dreams need to come true. Yes, I'm programming the universe so that it happens. I'm very thankful to you. I'm really thankful to you for finding your time and opportunity to come to us and play with us. I wish you all the best and great success. Thanks for participating, and we'll definitely continue inviting you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Вам огромное спасибо.
Спасибо. Пока-пока.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ну что ж.
Ну что?
Сегодня мы тоже познакомились, да, с интересными командами.
Да.
I think we met some very interesting team today.
Общаться с людьми со всего
It's
мира,
real
которые
cool to
объединены
be
одной
able to
идеей.
talk
Это
to people
чувствуется.
from
Я
all
вот
across the
чувствую
world
уже
that
второй
are
день подряд,
brought together
что
by
люди
one
объединены
idea
одной
and
идеей,
one
совершенно
passion. And I
все
feel it's
по-разному
coming
говорят по
through the
шахматам,
screen
но
that
с
people
одинаковой
are
любовью.
united by one idea and everybody talks about chess, but same love. Although there is some connection issues with Zambia, we still feel the energy. And tomorrow, we are in for a final day. How many teams are we going to have?
По две
We're
из
going to
каждой
have
группы.
2 teams
Это
from each
сколько?
group, yes. How many teams will there be?
Я.
2 by 4? 2 by 4 is what? Is 8.
Я могу.
You see, I'm an engineer. I can do the
8
calculation. I can do the
будут
math.
играть в плей-офф
8
вплоть до
teams will be
финала,
playing
и
in our
завтра уже
playoff
вечером,
until the final, and
поздних
tomorrow
часов
in the evening, in the
8-9,
very
я
late
думаю,
evening, at
объявим
around 9
победителя и
o'clock
обладателя
Russian
нашего
time, we will announce the
суперкубка.
winner and the one
FIDE
who will
Binance
be
Business
holding
Schools.
a Super Cup,
На
FIDE Finance Business Schools in his or her hands. We will keep supporting the teams. Please keep supporting yourselves, and please stay tuned and stay with us tomorrow at the same time.
Да, в 17:00 по Москве выходим в эфир.
5 p.m. Moscow time, we'll be going live. Just give me a second. Just give me a second, because I've heard about the following. The quarterfinals will start a little earlier. And I need to figure this out. I need to find this out. And while you're finding this out, let me thank the sponsors of our event tonight.
Это Binance,
We have
Tiger.Trade,
Binance,
CryptoUniverse,
Tiger.Trade, CryptoUniverse,
собственно,
and
бизнес-школа Сколково и
the SKOLKOVO Business School, as well as lichess.org,
игры в шахматы.
your platform to play chess. Great. I found this out tomorrow. The tournament starts half an hour earlier, and it means that we will be online a little earlier.
Okay.
News is yet to come, and please follow us everywhere you can. Thanks a lot, our dear viewers, and do come. Tomorrow we will get our finals, and there will be a playoff session. It's going to be fun. It's going to be cool.
Играйте в шахматы. Это
Play chess.
в начале, по крайней мере, и зажигайте.
It will be very easy and in the beginning, but then it's going to be hard and very fiery. Thank you so very much. Bye-bye for now.